Greetings and welcome, guys, gals, and non binary pals, to episode 307 of the Words About Games podcast, the weekly news, culture, and gaming podcast for Words About Games. I'm your host, Amy Kate Alexander, and I'm joined this week by Tori Roberts, who will say hello,
Hello.
and I can cough because my voice broke. As soon as I started talking, my voice started breaking.
Happens to the best of times to the best of people.
It's just. That's how it goes. That's how podcasting works. Everything bad happens when you're recording.
Mm-hmm.
How's it
15 minutes
going?
of time. Not
Yeah,
it. We start the podcast.
yeah, that happens a lot too.
Yeah, it's okay though. You know.
Yeah. How are you? How's it going? How's life? How's things? You've never been on this podcast before.
Yeah, I don't think. I've been on once, haven't I?
You've been on a podcast, but not. This is like the main show. This is like the
This is the big deal.
this is
The
the
big
big
shot.
leagues. Yeah, this is the main
Holy
one.
moly. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Keeping myself occupied. I'm gonna be working with an animator on a little short film, so that's gonna be really fun.
Wait,
And just really go on.
that's the first I'm hearing about this. So please tell me more because it
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
He's really cool. So I've had a concept for a video game for a while, and the majority of the non-game stuff he's done, like the soundtrack's complete. 255 songs. It's a little big, but
That's what she said.
every bad guy has their own theme song, so
I mean,
it kind of adds up.
that's what you want, right? Like every single bad guy to have their own theme song.
Yeah, exactly. They deserve it, you know? They've been working hard. And so, yeah, in the meantime, I decided to collaborate with an animator, and we're just starting out making a little slice of life animation short film about one of the creatures that you encounter in the game. So it's going to be really, really fun.
I'm not gonna lie, like when most people just like when I like go, oh, so how's it going? And most people go, that's good. I've just had a cake, or like something like similar, and you're just like, I'm making a film, no big deal.
I've been busy, you know?
Hell yeah,
And
that's
yeah,
fucking awesome.
it is pretty cool. And a game that I've been working on lately called Highlighters. It's a Game Boy Color action puzzle game that's a bit like Tetris Attack and Puyo Puyo. That's getting a
Yeah.
public demo soon, so that's
Oh.
going to be really fun.
I
Yeah,
did know about that one.
yeah. It's addictive. Frankly, it's just addictive. Really, really fun.
So's the soundtrack.
Oh, thank you.
Oh
That's
yeah.
very
Oh,
nice
you wrote the
of you.
soundtrack, didn't you? Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh my, I did. Oh, I nearly forgot. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been really fun.
Damn. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. Now I feel like I need to get my life in a gear.
You're doing great. Don't worry about it.
I spent yesterday eating Whatsits and watching How I Met Your Father.
See, that
Whatsits
sounds like
are a mid-tier crisp snack for me. Like, you know, we can rank crisps another time. And How I
We
Met Your
can.
Father is just not terrible, but also
Right. It's like trash TV.
it's weird. Like, I'm a big fan of How I Met Your Mother. I know it hasn't aged well in certain aspects, you know, being from 2005, but you know, I got into it in 2005 and like I loved it. And then like, oh, they're making a spin-off sequel. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch it, right? Because there's no way it's gonna live up to the last one.
Of course, yeah.
So I watched it. And it's like this weird like remix of like the original
okay.
series. Like it's so strange. Like they hit on like very similar like concepts, and like certain episodes of the new serial feel like they were redone like plot lines of the old show, and like the characters are really strange, and it's just it's weird to watch it.
It's uncanny.
It's
Yeah,
uncanny. It's like Uncanny Valley, but like for a TV show.
Right. It's kind of like when they make like an American version of a UK TV show. And
Kind
it's
of.
like, this is the same but different, and I don't know if I like it.
Exactly, right? But like I don't know, like there's nothing wrong with it, but also it's just strange to watch it. And
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna keep watching it.
Of course, you have to now.
And I think that was the highlight of like my week.
Hey, that sounds like a good week, though.
Ah, well,
You know?
I'm amping it up for like dramatic effect, I guess. I also binge watched the first season of Severance on Apple TV, and that was like legitimately amazing. So,
Oh, really? I'll have to check that out if I ever get Apple TV. I hate the fact you have to be subscribed to like 8 different things to watch the good stuff these days.
it's so annoying, isn't it? It's like you've got to
Mhm.
have an app or a website just to look up where you can watch stuff.
Honestly, I've been watching Come Dine With Me on Netflix when I've been watching stuff.
I love Come Down With Me. When I used to work, like I used to have a job like traveling and stuff, and when I used to get in like hotels and stuff, like in the afternoon, I'd watch Come Down With Me.
It's so trashy, but that's what makes it great.
It's
Like you're
terrible,
judging
but
people for making meals that you can't make yourself. Like, oh my god, you burnt the creme brulee. I've never even seen a creme brulee,
it's
and
like
I've become like,
who serves caviar with turkey, and I'm at home like I can barely manage an omelette.
yeah. I'm there with a bowl of cereal. Like, I can't believe it. Those vegetables look limp.
Like you're putting caramel on that? Why would you put caramel
Oh.
on that? And I'm eating frosties. Like,
I'm on my third Snicker,
yeah.
and they're like, "You've made that beef Wellington a little too crispy."
Oh, they've overcrissed it. They're definitely not going to get the perfect score they need to win the competition.
And you're just judging all the contestants like, oh, she's a bit of a cow. As if we know them.
Yeah, as if
I
they haven't
don't
been
know.
edited in any way. Like, oh,
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
definitely what this person is like.
Yeah, I love stuff like this, if I'm being honest.
I
But,
like it in moderation.
Mhm.
Like, it's harder to watch that. I feel like it's harder to watch that kind of stuff now because, like, I used to like I said, I watched Come Down With Me when I was in a hotel, which had like maybe it's like 10 TV channels.
Yeah.
Whereas now I've got like multiple streaming services at my fingertips, right? So like I'm rather than like channel surfing and like finding something to watch, like I have like all of Amazon Prime at my fingertips, right? And I just like I'm more in control of what I'm watching now.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's kind of amazing, but it's a little overwhelming too, especially with the way that social media kind of treats this stuff as snack food. It's very like watch it and then dump it. So if you don't watch a show when it comes out,
Oh no,
by the time you do watch it, it'll either be spoiled or no one will care.
it's so weird. It's like yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like you like something will come out and then like everybody's talking about it on the timeline and then that's it, it's done, and then it's the next thing like a
Mm.
week or a month later or whatever.
Yeah. I
Like
was just talking about that recently with Game of Thrones, how it was like the biggest media sensation in decades. Since, well, probably since Lord of the Rings.
mhm, mhm.
And it was like the media franchise that people cared about. And then season 8 came out and basically ruined its entire reputation. And now no one talks about it or thinks about it anymore.
Yeah, that's weird. I was talking about this with one of my friends about Game of Thrones specifically. Um, like how mad is it that like nobody talks about Game of Thrones anymore? Whereas
Mm-hmm.
like we were all staying up to like to watch the episode like for the first time like on the what was it like 3 a.m. on Monday when you were watching the
It was
last season.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like no one talks about it anymore. Like
Yeah. It really is a mixture of like social media's kind of binge and throwaway kind of mentality, and the fact that this 8th season was just
I think
rushed because the directors just couldn't be bothered anymore, and they should have passed it on to someone else at the studio to finish the job properly.
I think the eighth season was definitely a big part of the reason why like people don't talk about Game of Thrones anymore because like so like let's bring it back full circle to something else I was talking about where it's like with Game of Thrones it's like one big story. So like
Mm-hmm.
it having a bad ending is like okay, well why would I want to watch the rest of this because it all builds to that ending, right? And like if you like that
Mm-hmm.
ending then that's your everybody's got different tastes and that's fine, but like
Yeah.
for me it was just like the last season, maybe even like the last two seasons, were just not great. So like you start it and then you're watching it going, this is incredible, but then you're like in the back of your head, you're like, but I know where this is all going.
Yeah, it's a shame too, because like the first half dozen seasons are some of the best TV
Definitely.
that's been made in a long time, and it's hard to just take that for what it is, knowing that. And the thing is, season 7 and 8 aren't even terrible; they're just not great. So
Yeah.
like the standard dropped so high, like so low from where it was, that people see it as being horrible, terrible TV, and it's not. It's just average.
No, I've seen terrible TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's definitely not. It's like I take it like because the conversation I had with my friend was like I also included like so How I Met Your Mother had a terrible ending. Like, but
Mm-hmm.
the last episode specifically, the last episode wasn't great. But like, I can still rewatch that because
Mm-hmm.
it's not as contingent on like the last episode to like
Yeah.
tie everything up. It's like you can still watch the other like the 9 seasons that were on, and I have done multiple times.
Yeah.
And just be like, I can enjoy this. Like, I enjoy the characters and the cast and the chemistry and the humor.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, you
Yeah.
watch Sean Bean get his head cut off. Spoilers for a show that's more than 10 years old.
Yeah. For the three of you that haven't watched it
Yeah,
yet.
and you're like, oh my god, that was so like nuts and amazing. Like, I wonder
Mm-hmm.
what's gonna happen next. Like, how's that gonna affect everything? And it's like, oh wait, yeah,
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it comes down as well to the fact that like with each episode that you watched, you literally couldn't predict the next episode. You couldn't tell where it was going. And then
definitely.
season 7 became kind of predictable, and what happened previously didn't matter as much to what was happening now. And a whole part of Game of Thrones was that like the relevancy and the way that events in the past and the present and the future all fold into each other, and it kind of becomes this really interesting tangled tapestry in a way. And then 7 and 8 just don't rely on that. They're just basically action fantasy fodder. And
Yeah, it's like, how do we wrap up this story, this big, huge, sprawling story, in the most like traditional, tropey way possible?
yeah, which was the whole part of Game of Thrones. It broke the tropes, you know.
Yeah, like
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
like Sean Bean was the main character. You don't kill the main character in season 1.
No, no.
You
It
don't
was
you don't wipe out like a quarter of the cast in one scene in season 3, right? Like,
mhm. Yeah, a lot of the ends were tied up nicely. To be fair, although you did still predict it coming, so even the good things, like the good endings for certain characters, it was like, oh, that was a satisfying, nice conclusion. But then you remember it's Game of Thrones, and you're like, actually, that was, that was really predictable in a.
that's true.
You
I
know.
always had this theory that like Game of Thrones, like it started out and then really bad things started to happen, and all the good characters, like, well, not the good, like the good person characters, like the good side characters,
Yeah.
were like going through the shit and stuff, and then like I always had this theory that like it would like swing like slowly as like through the mid seasons to the point where like, oh, the good person characters would start winning or whatever.
Yeah.
Which kind of happened, but like for a lot of characters in the worst way possible. And then you've got like character assassinations, like Jamie Lannister just deciding like to be like, well, fuck my character arc for the last 8 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the characters didn't have to die to suddenly not be relevant anymore.
Yeah,
It was a huge shame. It was a huge shame.
it was.
But it's still worth watching, I'd say. But
Oh
just
yeah, just
season
temper.
7 and 8 kind of temper your expectations. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, which is a shame to say about Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
Like so
Let's
many,
hope the new show's gonna be good.
so many of my friends who don't even like watch fantasy or sci-fi like watched Game of Thrones, like, and like you're like, oh, like what other like fantasy do you watch? And they're like, they haven't even watched Lord of the Rings, right? Because it's fantasy stuff. But Game of Thrones just penetrated like.
That's how big of a deal it was,
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it was that much of a culturally huge event, really, that it did make people check into it when it really wasn't usually for them genre wise.
Yeah, it's just a shame that it ended the way it did, because that could have been like the start of something beautiful for a lot of people, where it's just like, oh, you like that? Why don't you try some of this other fantasy stuff?
Yeah, or at the very least, I think if it would have ended well, it would have still been this cultural hallmark. I still think it would have been the Lord of the Rings of its time.
Yeah, definitely.
Instead, it's kind of just it's the Dexter of its time.
It's the Dexter. Oh man, I never watched Dexter, but even I heard about that.
Yeah, me too. I haven't watched it, but I know that like people loved that show for a long time, and it ended so badly. But they did make New Blood afterwards, which is meant to continue the story after and actually fix it. But
Yeah, my friends.
I really
watching
do that with Game of Thrones. Yeah.
I don't think you can't really, can you? You could redo it, but I suppose that would be about it.
Yeah,
You could
honestly,
save it.
I'm still in the belief that the director should have left when they wanted to leave to pursue other things and retain their prestige, because clearly they lost a lot with season 8, and they should have got other people in the studio to kind of push up to finish the show to the standard it deserves. But we can't go back in time and fix that.
No, it'd be nice if we could, but unfortunately we can't. I'd fix a lot of things.
Me too.
Just TV shows, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man. Yeah. Anyway, before this becomes just 2 hours of Game of Thrones reviews.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's a different podcast.
Let's talk about the entire history of the last decade of television. No, let's talk about video games.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
That's what we are here for, and I've got the rigmarole to do. I should probably explain why we're not in video. Actually, I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to acknowledge that, there's no video this week. It's fine. Like, YouTube people who listen to the podcast on the audio platforms are getting the same version of the podcast that people on YouTube are for a week.
Yes, this is something to just put in the background and listen to while you do other things.
Yeah, definitely. But anyway, every Monday you can get a video version of the show on youtube.com/wordsaboutgames, or an audio version on a variety of platforms, including Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and more. There are timestamps in the description wherever you choose to get your podcast, so you can see what we've been chatting about, skip around the podcast, or watch the entire podcast backwards if you like. We don't mind. We're just happy that you're here. If you'd like to support the show or our content directly, you can buy us a coffee over at coffee.com/wordsaboutgames. Also, if you want to hang out with us while we play some games, head over at twitch.tv/wordsaboutgames. Actually, I don't think we'll be playing that many games this week, because we'll be doing all the reactions to all the shows that we're about to talk about. But if you want to hear us talk about and review some video games, we publish reviews on our YouTube channel. I got 2 reviews coming up this week. One's for a game where I was like, it's all right. And another's for a game where I'm like, this is the best thing ever. So I'll have fun with those 2. You'll be able to figure out which is which just from when you see the 2 videos go up, and like which games they are.
I'm sure I will.
But let's get into talking about video games.
Sounds good to me.
It's almost E3, sort of, not really, but also yes. Yeah, I feel like I described that pretty well.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, though? About E3 not being a thing this year? I mean, they went from being like, hey, it's going to be physical again. Oh, wait, it's digital. Oh, wait, I slipped on the banana peel. It's cancelled. I'm sorry.
I had to double check to make sure I hadn't just woke it up in 2020.
Yeah.
Because that was...
It really repeat.
Even, like, the timing was, like... I'm pretty sure it was, like, the same timing where it was like, oh, we're not going to do it. Oh, we're going to do it digital. I remember
but
this.
At least Sony's here this time, right? Wasn't Sony missing in 2020?
Sony was missing in 2020. Sony was missing in 2020. I think was it 2019? They were missing as well.
Gosh, I'm not sure, but they really haven't been taking part in E3, which is a shame, because it looks like they've had some good stuff to show. It's wild that we've got God of War. Ragnarok's still meant to be coming out this year, and we haven't seen much of it at all. Now would be a good time to start that.
Yeah, now would be a good time to start that. Like Sony's last E3 presentation, I'm pretty sure was the one with The Last of Us Part 2 and Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima, and revealed Yeah, the Flute Man, and it revealed like Resident Evil 2. Like people talk shit about that because like of that weird break where they moved everyone from one place to the other, but like that show was ridiculous.
Yeah, the ban as well, when they got everyone in the ban and they showed off the Last of Us Part 2 and it had
Yeah,
the same ban scene in the game. That was so immersive and must have been so amazing for the audience
yeah.
despite
And we
having to
still
shuffle
got to see
around.
a cool scene like, from the game, and
Hmm.
like they revealed Control for the first time, and they revealed Resident Evil 2 remake for the first time, and like that show was
Which
just
was an amazing game.
both were. Um,
True. True.
how do I feel about it not being E3? Like at this point, like I loved E3. Like even as someone who never went and would never ever be able to go. Like I used to
Hmm.
love like watching all the press conferences, which we still kind of get, I suppose.
Yeah.
But then like watching like the 3 days coverage like afterwards. So you had like IGN and GameSpot and Twitch, and they had all those like
Hmm.
20-minute segments where they'd interview all the developers of all these different games and stuff. And I used to like sit and watch that for like 7 hours a day.
Yeah, me too. I used to love that stuff. And I remember even before then, back when E3 was a thing where you could watch it online and you'd have to buy like the DVDs that came with gaming magazines to watch them.
I don't
God.
remember that, but holy
Yeah,
shit, yeah, that
Twilight
sounds right.
Princess for the first time ever, you'd have to buy official Nintendo magazine, which isn't a thing anymore.
I used to watch
Yeah, it was
straight shit
amazing.
quality videos on like oneup.com and stuff.
Oh
Um,
gosh, but wow.
but
They were
yeah,
the
like
day.
that's awesome. I used to say like because we used to do we've done this podcast for long enough that like we've covered like E3 proper E3s before in the past, and like I used to sit there with the people that we gathered together like talk about E3, and they'd be like, what was your favorite game? And I'd start talking about this game, and they'd be like, that wasn't any of the press conferences. And I'd be like, no, there was an interview with the developer on IGN on the Friday. And then they'd be like, oh, what's like what? And I'd be like, that's the best part of E3.
Hmm. It's a great part of the show.
Like that's the part I miss the most.
Yeah, I guess some people aren't just that invested in the studios behind the games. They just want to see trailers, gameplay, and I
Like
get that, but
I get that. Like I want to see cool trailers and awesome gameplay, but I also want to like hear about like people talking about the game. Like when they did God of War and they did the interview on the PlayStation channel for E3, and it was Chris Judge in his amazing Hawaiian shirt.
oh yeah.
And I was like, that
Gosh,
sold me
honestly,
on the game
it,
more than the trailer.
yeah, and sometimes the announcements after E3's presentations were sometimes like even more surprising and amazing. Like go back to when like the 3DS was having its last hurrah, and we got to see like Samus Returns. Like
Yes,
Metroid 2 remake that was announced in the Nintendo
in the
Treehouse,
treehouse, which yeah,
and it was amazing
there
to
was
see a
loads
new.
of stuff. I remember back when I thought there was a chance that we'd ever get a good Project Zero game again, and that was like the fifth one was announced in a treehouse, and you got to see that 20 minutes of gameplay, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking lit.
Yeah, exactly. Like you got to not just like see these games get announced, but then straight after you'd see like real gameplay, not just a CGI cutscene, not just a teaser. You'd get to see solid gameplay and usually a release date too. It was amazing.
Yeah, so that's how I
Yeah.
feel about that. Like I miss classic E3 for that stuff.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
But like
Yeah.
you just got to make do with what you've got, I guess.
Yeah, you do. Like I used to have used to organize parties and stuff and literally stay over a friend's house for 2 or 3 days and we'd all just collectively watch the E3 and have a good time.
Yeah.
It was real fun, but
Yeah,
what we're getting now is still good. It's still gonna be fun.
yeah, it's still gonna be fun. Like we we have a setup at a person's house, and we'd have the cameras and all the live streaming and stuff, and
Oh,
like
that sounds
we
so
just
fun.
sit on the couches and we just chatter away like before and after,
That's
and then like during doing our reactions and stuff. And I remember I've got so many memories of like us on those sofas. We were doing a post show for the first PC gaming show, and the guy who we used to in the house we used to do it in, his cat like climbing up onto my leg and like just digging its claws into my leg while I was trying to talk about some PC game or another.
Jesus.
And then it jumped down, walked to the other corner of the room, and there was a plastic bag where we'd put all our snacks in. Like it was empty, and it just started pissing all over the bag in the middle of the live stream.
Oh my god.
And I was
It's a
like,
bit of a nightmare.
yeah, the clip probably still exists somewhere, I'm sure, but I don't know. It's lost to to me as far as but I remember it. I have the memory of that happening. Um, it's just the shit you don't really get with this now.
Yeah, exactly. You miss the, the cats peeing into
The
all your
cat's
empty snack packets. Like,
peeing
well,
on
that's the
plastic
real E3
bags.
experience.
That's the real
That's the
E3.
real. Yeah.
Remember watching
Yeah.
the very first Death Stranding trailer, and it was like 3 a.m. and
Jesus.
I couldn't like process what I just watched to the point that I missed the fact that Spider-Man happened next, and like the person on the sofa sitting next to me was just like Spider-Man. Like just shocked me back into reality. I was like, wait, what? And like, oh shit, it's Spider-Man.
But yeah, I mean, it's still even now. Like, obviously, COVID's been a big, hurdle in that, but in having that full E3 experience. But we just had the PlayStation
Yeah, we
state of
did.
play.
Yeah, so we've had the PlayStation State of Play. For my theory, we've had the first PlayStation State of Play.
Yeah, the rest have been terrible. I stopped watching them after like the first four, but like I was like, oh, they used the Nintendo Direct format. They must have learned from Nintendo. Let's watch. And they'd be like, and next we're showing Fall Guys, and it's already been released. But guess what?
Woo.
You get some trainers on the PlayStation Plus, and I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah,
this is fantastic. I'm so glad I tuned in.
great. It's midnight. Thanks for this.
Yeah, yeah. But this one was actually really good. This one was
It was
fantastic.
so good
Mm-hmm.
that I
It
didn't
really
watch it.
was. I know. But you saw the trailers. You got the gist of
I
what was
did.
going on.
I saw what I wanted. I did the thing where I just looked up and I was like, "Oh, let me have a look at this." Like I clicked on the live stream after we were finished playing D&D just in time for the Final Fantasy 16 trailer. So I saw like the end live.
But like we'll go through the games that got announced.
Yeah, sure.
Like Resident Evil 4 remake.
Yeah.
Like, and don't get me wrong, that is one of the most timeless games. Someone on Twitter that I was reading their tweets, and they said it best. They were saying that it's like the Doom of its time. Like it's one of those ageless games that are still fantastic today. And that game was like a real hallmark, like a real like cornerstone for the action genre moving forwards. It's like the Ocarina of Time of the Xbox, GameCube, PS2 era.
Oh, 1,000%. Like Resident Evil 4, for everything that it did to the Resident Evil franchise going forward, it also like it practically invented like the third person action genre that we kind of know today.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't have Dead Space and games like that now, I don't think, without Resident Evil 4. Which is wild because we get a remake next year.
I know, right? Like we get a remake of Resident Evil, we get a remake of Dead Space.
And we get what's it called now? The Callisto Protocol.
Yes.
Like those games are out within like 3 months of each other. And
Yes.
all three of them look fantastic. Like Resident Evil 4 remake. If it's like Resident Evil 2 remake, but
yeah,
around 4.
I'm looking forward to seeing more Resident Evil 4 remake. Like for me, and I said this last year because like there was a big leak, so we kind of knew that Resident Evil 4 remake was a thing.
We did. Yeah.
As well as like other Resident Evils. But I said this after playing Village to Moody, where I was like, "Well, you don't need to you don't need to remake Resident Evil 4. You just did. You made Resident Evil Village."
True. Honestly, the thing with Resident Evil Village, which is a game that also got announced for VR support, didn't it, in the State of Play? It's the fact that like Resident Evil Village tries to be all the Resident Evil games. It goes from being Resident Evil 1 with the mansion, manor, castle, kind of scenario, that kind of claustrophobic environment.
Sure.
And then it tries to like Resident Evil 2 and 3, in places. And then it goes to like we won't spoil the whole game for people that haven't played it, but it basically walks through every Resident Evil game and halfway through becomes Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
And then after that, it becomes like Resident Evil 5 and 6, and even Call of Duty at one point, which is interesting.
Yeah, and then it becomes Call of Duty as well.
Yeah, but it was a great game. It felt like 4 studios worked on each major part of the game, and then they just put a tiny little piece of grass with a circle in the middle to kind of put it all together.
They smashed it all together, and then it was like, easy game. I was like, oh,
yeah,
cool. I enjoyed it. It was stupid, like game, but like I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah, I streamed the whole game to friends and stuff, and we had a good laugh playing it. Well, I didn't. I was screaming for the first half,
Yeah,
but it was
sure.
still really fun. I wish the whole game would have taken place in that castle, to be honest, though.
Yeah,
I really did.
like one man setting,
Yeah,
like Resident Evil games of the past, like the
yeah,
mansion, and then you could go to like the outhouse and the lab and the
yeah,
caves, but
exactly.
it all
Mhm.
tied back into the mansion.
Yeah, yeah, but the VR version's going to be no doubt probably
I
even more fun than the original game.
I played Resident Evil 7 when it first came out from start to finish in PSVR, and
Me too. It
it
was
was fucking
amazing.
intense.
Yeah, well, it's funny 'cause I played through that game like 5 or 6 times. I thought that was one of the best Resident Evil games ever.
Sure.
And and then I got VR later and going through that game again in VR, even though I knew where all the jump scares were, I knew all the creatures were gonna be, I knew everything. Um it's different seeing like a 6-inch man on the screen coming out of a wall.
Sure.
It's different when it's a 12-foot creature stood above you. And
Yep.
getting that feeling for PlayStation VR 2 with Resident Evil Village is a very mixed amount of emotions because yeah, it's going to be terrifying, but also
Um,
7-foot vampire mommy.
I mean,
So
7 Foot Vampire Mummy in VR is what I'm here for.
yeah, that's gonna sell it. That's what's gonna get the
Um,
PSVR 2 off the
yeah,
shelves.
that's gonna be what is it they used to call it? The killer app.
Yeah, but
I'm not so keen to do the part after that in VR.
yeah, oh my god, no. Oh gosh, I'm gonna be screaming and
I
crying.
think I'm gonna be sick. Like I think I'm literally gonna puke.
Yeah, but back to Resi 4 remake. Just for a moment, like
Yeah, sure.
they definitely seem to have made the tone darker. Ashley seems to have a bigger role based on the fact there's cutscenes with her with that were never in the original. The
Sure.
locations seem authentic to the original though, so I wonder if they're gonna just have the same general locations but just new graphics and a new style, or if they're gonna, like the leaks suggest, expand the village section of the game, like make the first half of the game much broader in scope.
I mean, I hope so because the village part of Resident Evil 4 was like leagues above the rest of the like the whole game was fantastic. Like and I enjoyed
Mhm.
it for like end to end, but like the village section of the game was definitely its highest point.
Yeah, yeah, it seems to be a thing with a lot of Resident Evil games, though. The
Yeah,
first
there's
half of
like
the game is the highlight. The second half is a little less
the city in
well
Resident Evil
directed.
3, the mansion in Resident Evil 1. It's like these are the places that are incredible, and then like the offshoot places that you go to are like
Yeah, yeah,
not quite as like strong. Um,
yeah. Resident Evil 7's boat section, the big, you know,
oh
broken
god,
down ship. No,
yes,
not so great. Resident Evil 8's shooty section, not quite as good as the first
Metal
half.
Gear section.
Yeah, yeah. Still good though. The games are good to the end, but they get scared of committing to the horror aspect of
This
Resident
is
Evil
true.
games.
Which is something that 2 and even 3, which I wasn't as big a fan of Resident Evil 3 remake, but like they committed to the horror of it, and like they're very different
Mhm.
in tone to the older games, and I like if you try to like match the tone of Resident Evil 4 remake to Resident Evil 4 like the original, like I feel like that's a trap. That game is
Mhm. Yeah,
cheesy as fuck and it's so
oh,
dumb. Like, and I
it's so good for that though. I love the fact it's so cheesy and dumb,
don't get
but
me wrong, it's phenomenal. Like, I played it again
Mhm.
a couple of years ago, and I was like, the tone of it is still hilarious, and I love it. But like, I feel like if you're gonna remake it, maybe don't try to do that again because I don't think you're gonna recapture it.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to. I think they're specifically trying to make sure they don't step on the original game's legacy. So I get the feeling this will be very different in tone. I think a lot of the locations and stuff will feel fresh in the same way Resident Evil 2 remake felt fresh to the original.
Yeah,
I think they want them both to be like, hey, you can enjoy this version of the game, you can enjoy the VR version of the game, which is meant to be incredible, and you can play the remake, and all of them stand alone.
yeah. And like,
Um,
Resident Evil 4 remake is probably gonna be designed to tie into 2 and 3.
yeah, well, I think it seems to be very closely related to 2. I mean, Leon looks a little bit older, but he almost looks identical to how he did in 2. And I think it's the Resi 2 studio that's going to be doing the 4 remake,
That
which
makes
is
sense.
really exciting because they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
So much
yeah,
so that Resident
definitely.
Evil 3 paled when it came out. It was still fun, but Nemesis against Mr. X isn't
I
comparable,
don't
and
know
that was
how
the.
they managed that. I don't know
I
how they
know,
managed
I
to
know.
do that. Like Nemesis, I've played Resident Evil 3, the 99 version recently,
Hmm.
and like Nemesis is like fucking incredible in that game. Like,
Yeah, he is. In the remake, they kind of made him scripted, and I think that's where they went wrong.
I knew I
Um,
was in trouble because I streamed this game from start to finish in one go, and both I and chat knew I was in trouble with like how I was going to feel about this game. The first time Nemesis was chasing me, and I was like, "Holy shit! I'm going to try and throw a grenade at him to like slow him down or make him stumble or something because
yeah,
you could do that thing where he jumps in front of you and stuff." And I threw the grenade and it knocked him to the ground, and I got the upgrade, and I was like, "Oh no, what have they
yeah,
done?"
exactly. Like it's such a shame. Like they should have taken Mr. X and upped the ante with this like incredibly weird, versatile killing machine
Definitely.
instead of a dude in a trench coat and a hat.
Well, if you shoot the hat off, he moves a little bit faster.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild that they did. I mean, to be fair, it was a different studio, and they were rushing to kind of
Yeah,
annualize the
yeah.
Resident Evil series, which they're still doing now.
They're still
But
trying, yeah.
yeah, but no,
Um,
I think
yeah,
the 4 remake's going to be fantastic, and
I think
hopefully
it
we'll get
is.
Code Veronica afterwards.
That game. I played that. It's funny. I played that game recently. It's almost like I've played a bunch of Resident Evils for some reason specifically. I played Code Veronica again recently, and I hated it.
Really, that's one of the reasons why I think a remake could do it well, though.
Yeah, I think like
I
you
think
need to
it'd
remake
serve it
that
well.
game.
It hasn't. It's aged better than Zero. Even Zero was like a gorgeous game. Ooh,
I
that's the one
haven't
game they don't need to return to.
I haven't played Zero yet.
You
But
have
it's
you
on
have
the
to
dock.
balance both characters at once.
I
Like you have to
remember, like
control both. Oh.
I haven't played it like recently. I played it when it came out, and I was like, I hate this so much.
Yeah, what a
Just give me an
shame.
ion box. Why do I have to drop everything everywhere?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Right.
Um, what else? I mean, there was other stuff too. There was like the Walking Dead game, which seemed pretty good, but I'm not really into the Walking Dead, so I don't have much to offer on that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Um,
PSVR 2, they announced that No Man's Sky, amazing game, um, and
that
Horizon
will be
Call of the
good.
Mountain for PSVR 2 is like PSVR 2 titles.
That looks amazing though. That Call of the Mountain looks. I mean, it looks like a lot of the similar experience I've seen in VR. But gosh, that game is going to be absolutely mind blowing to just see in front of you and all around you.
Oh yeah, like I was like in on VR on day one, like before day one,
Hmm.
like it was like a EGX at 2015, I think, where was playing like Alien Isolation in VR. Don't know why I did that. That was
Wow.
a terrible idea.
It still sounds great
Oh,
though.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
But like yeah, like VR, like until you've played it, you can't really like describe it to somebody else, like how much the VR adds to a game. Like Star Trek Bridge Crew, for example, is one of my favorite games of the last decade because like it's a
Wow.
pretty cool Star Trek game, but like you get to like sit in the chair and do the things, and you're on the bridge of a Star Trek ship, and like that experience alone is like next level, and you can't
It's
get
so
that.
much more immersive. It's so much more immersive than you give it credit for. I'll be honest. I was a skeptic of VR for a long time. It was actually my mother who played it first, and she was like, "Tori, we need to get PlayStation VR. It's incredible." And I'm like, you know what? Okay, so we went halves and we got PlayStation VR, and I got Skyrim on it
Oh
and a bunch
damn!
of other games too. And we put Skyrim on, and my mum put the headset on, and she was in Whiterun. She looked to the left, span out, and was like, "Nope." And I was like, okay. But then we played games like what was it now? The roller coaster horror game.
Oh,
You know,
Until Dawn. That was a great game.
that was
Rush of Blood. Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and Moss and
Moss
tons
was
of other games on
tremendous. Yeah.
VR. Absolutely fantastic. And then, like you said, Resident Evil 7 in VR is transformative. Like it's yeah, VR is kind of incredible.
Yeah,
Um,
like
I,
I need to see this VR headset though. Like, there are
Mm-hmm.
questions I need answered because I'm in on getting a VR headset. Because like when PSVR 2 comes out, there'll be at least a resurgence of like VR. Um,
Mm-hmm.
even if it
Yeah.
doesn't last. But like I'm in for like riding that wave out. But like I need
Mm-hmm.
to know, is it going to be wireless? I'm just going to throw it out there. I need to know if it's going to be wireless.
I get the feeling the control is obviously going to be wireless. I think if it's not wireless, the cable will be a lot easier to manage than the setup for the
Yeah.
original PSVR, which was cumbersome to say the least. But
Yeah, the
even the
cables, the
PS
camera, the controllers, like there was a lot about PSVR. It was just like you didn't think this through, did you?
Yeah, like the controllers, come on.
They
The
were horrible.
PlayStation 3 Move controllers, not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Moss 2 came out recently, Book 2 it's called, on VR. So it's still got some good games releasing on it. It'll be fun to play those on the PS5
Yeah.
with the new VR headset in higher res and stuff. So
Like I say, like I'm waiting on seeing more details about the new headset for PlayStation before I decide whether I'm getting that or I'm just gonna get a Quest.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the what is it? The Oculus Rift 2 is the one that has Resident Evil
Yeah.
4 on it, and that's meant to be a great little platform for people that don't want to invest all that money and space and time
So
into
we'll see what
VR.
happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we can get through the rest of this state of play a bit quicker. I expect us to talk for that long about Resident Evil.
Resident Evil, yeah.
um.
Well, I
Okay.
mean,
So, yeah.
Spider-Man Remastered got announced for PC. That's good for PC gamers. Hopefully, Miles Morales comes out too.
It's coming out later this year. I think they talked about it afterwards.
Oh,
Um.
great! I didn't notice that bit.
I read it somewhere on Twitter. They might not even
Yeah.
be right. I didn't vet it. I just went, oh yeah, that makes sense, and just added
Mhm.
it.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, and there was tons of other great games. Like Stray looks really good and original.
It does. I'm really looking forward to it.
Dystopian. Yeah, I after playing Cyberpunk 2077, I want more dystopian cyberpunk worlds,
That
and
makes
that
sense.
looks like a really unique take on it.
You're a cat, so I'm in.
Yeah, it's cool as hell.
The Callisto Protocol was there. It comes out on December 2nd.
Yeah, that's literally. It looks just like Dead Space, even down to the way that the user interface is actually on the person, not on screen.
Which
So
is
that it
good.
does look absolutely fantastic.
I'm a fan of less of a user interface. Like, and I'm not a fan.
Mhm.
Like, the way Horizon does it, I hate. Like, where it's like, oh, we just make it disappear. And if you want to see it, you just have to swipe on the touchpad. And I'm just like, no, like, find interesting ways to put the information in front of me.
Yeah, make it contextual. Like,
Yeah.
hey, if you got full health, then you don't need to see your health bar. You know,
Um,
if you don't need to use the map, put the map away. And Dead Space and now the Callisto Protocol seems to handle it really well, and it looks like it's going to be an underrated gem because I haven't heard people talk about it much.
Me and Moody have been keeping track of it, but that's because we're both massive fans of Dead Space. And obviously, this is by a lot of people who worked on the original Dead Space.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we did say, look, this game needs to come out before Dead Space remake, and
It is by a month.
it is so
I get the
far.
feeling people are gonna be on board for it though. There's
Yeah,
no way. Like I love the idea of we get the Callisto Protocol, which looks incredible. We get Dead Space remake the month after, looks incredible. 2 months after that, we've got Resi 4 remake.
we just need
It's gonna be
something
good.
in February, like horror. In February, we'll
Yeah.
just get this horror train going. Like, it's been a long time since like there's been like a run of good horror games.
Hmm. Yeah. Hopefully this will keep us like satisfied for a while though, because horror games, like you say, have kind of been pretty dry
Nothing ever keeps
lately.
me satisfied for long.
What if they announce a remake of Silent Hill 2 for February? Hell yeah.
Depends who's making it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. But there's been a lot of rumors and even concept art leaks of it, so it very much could be a thing. Um, we'll just have to keep
we'll
our eyes
we'll
for it.
speculate in a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
Roller Drum coming out on August 16th from the developers of Ollie Ollie World. Does that
Um,
move the needle for you in any way?
well, this is funny. I saw the indie developers that were, I think it was just the one person actually that was that made this rollerblade thing with like slow motion and shooting and stuff, and it looked fantastic. And it looks like the guys who made Ollie Ollie World have kind of built that game with them, so it does look really fun. But not, I don't know if it's my kind of thing.
Yeah, like I'll try anything. video game related. But yeah, like I don't know if it's gonna be for me, but it looks cool, and a lot of people were talking about it on my Twitter feed. So
Yeah, it's definitely original. It's definitely original.
I'm all for original because I want to talk about this next game, Eternights, a dating sim action game coming early 2023. I was like, hell yeah! Like just from that description.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I can't remember that trailer though.
I
That's
never
the
saw
one
it.
trailer.
So like yeah, like I went through the list to put the notes together, and I did it really late last night because I was streaming Faz quite late with Ryan.
Right.
So I'd seen the trailers for the things that I knew were there. Like people were putting Callisto Protocol and Resident Evil 4 like all over Twitter. So I was like, well, I can't avoid that. And I saw Final Fantasy. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then I just read the description of Eternights, and I was like, what? Hold on. Horny
Honestly,
persona, you say?
every trailer was good in that state of play. So even though I can't remember which one it was, because there was a couple of games that looked similar. Yeah, it's definitely worth looking into. I think I'll definitely watch the trailer again after that.
Yeah, I'm on the Steam page now. I'm looking at the gifs, and it's just like it's like a proper like a fast action game, like a Devil May Cry Bayonetta style action game with and then it's like, oh yeah, and it's a dating game.
I remember it now. I didn't know it was a dating game. Yeah, I remember that now. That looked really cool. Very anime though.
It looks like it's got a similar sort, like looking at the screenshots, it looks like it's got a similar sort of time, like idea, like concept of like time and dates and the calendar and stuff that Persona 5 had.
Wow, that could be something to keep an eye on them for sure. That sounds great.
I'll always find the weird niche little games in these little in all of these like hype driven like directs or whatever, and I'll be like, whoa, this.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, check out Horizon, check out Final Fantasy, and I'm like, and I'll just like, but what about this? And I'll pull out this tiny little weird little looking thing. This though,
digital dating sim action game.
this though,
Yeah.
I did that once. I had the boyfriend dungeon. I pulled boyfriend dungeon out of something and direct or a Nintendo Direct where they were talking about some like big hype games, and I was like, but this game you can date your weapons.
Yeah, I nearly brought that up actually when Eternights was mentioned.
I love
yeah, that was
boyfriend dungeon.
really Gosh, and after that it was Street Fighter 6, right?
It was coming in 2023, and I'm just like, I'm not a Street Fighter. I'm not a fighting game person, so.
Really,
Yeah.
that's wild. I've played Street Fighter since Street Fighter 2 Turbo,
Nice.
and 5 was a bit of a disappointment until it was finished with all the DLCs.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't even have an arcade or story mode until like a year and a half, 2 years into it. It was bare bones for a long time. It ended up okay though in the end. Not as good as 4, but still good.
That's good.
But 6 is not developed by the same director. It's a new person, and he seems to be doing a really good job. The old school hip hop vibe, and the fact that in one of the screenshots they leaked like 15 cast members.
I saw
like,
the leaks happening afterwards. Yeah. Yeah.
That wasn't even in the leak. That was literally like a screenshot that Capcom posted in 4K. There's like a little screen with the tournament looking mode on it, and on it had the entire roster. It looks like so. Oops.
Capcom's not doing well with leaks.
No, definitely not. But hey, like Street Fighter 6 does look good. It looks like they're trying to freshen it up a little. It looks heavy. For anyone that's interested in fighting games, definitely got like a heavy feel to it, which is good.
That's good. That's good.
And yeah, at least it could be redeeming for the series, you know? So
we do love a good redemption arc.
We do, and it's coming to Xbox and stuff this time. Like it got announced for Xbox and PC.
Oh, did it?
And,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's not a PlayStation exclusive this time, thank God.
Yeah, the last one was a PS4 game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think did it come to PC too?
Don't.
Or was it just... I think it might have just been PlayStation.
Let's find out. I always end up having Steam open on all of these podcasts. I should just open it, like...
Just keep it up there ready. If it was only on PS4...
Oh, Street Fighter 5, yeah, it's on Steam.
Yeah, okay. That's still weird, though. It's still weird. Doesn't suit... Not many PlayStation fans have multiple controllers, from my knowledge. Maybe I'm
That
You
used to
know,
be
not
a
those.
thing. You used to have like the box or the tub or whatever of like all like four controllers for all your consoles, and now it's just like if you want to play it on my like PlayStation, bring your own.
Yeah, exactly. And people just don't do that usually, so it's a shame. But yeah. After that, what was the next game that came out?
According to
Pretty
the
much.
list that I pulled, it was Season.
Right. Oh, that looked very pretty. I can't remember too much about it, but it was another smaller indie game kind of looking thing. More on the scale of something like Roller Dome, but very
Yeah,
charming, cute art
yeah.
style. Yeah, it looked
I've
good.
seen this game. This game has was announced a while ago.
Really.
At something. It might have actually been a state of play and then like disappeared.
Mhm.
Um, and then I guess it's reappeared.
Yeah, that's good though, 'cause it did look nice. But the state of play ended really strong, I think, with Final Fantasy 16.
Yes, it did.
It really did. Like, don't
Final
get me wrong, like
Fantasy.
I'm not a huge fan of the battle system, which is actually designed by the director of the combat for Devil May Cry
Yeah,
5. So I'm not a huge fan of that, if I'm being honest. It's a little too heavy on the action and the flash. But
sure, sure.
other than that, going back to the fantasy setting of Final Fantasy, which I've wanted since 9, and yeah, I know them as Eidolons, but the summons and stuff look absolutely incredible.
They do. Like I saw like so this is the trailer that I saw live. And like did I see like two summons fighting each other? like
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like the several scenes of different summons fighting each other, and yeah, it looks very cool. Dealing like 330,000 damage and stuff. It's very cool, but yeah, it looks good. The game's made by Final Fantasy 14's team, directed by
Yoshida P, right?
Yeah, I haven't played 14 much, but everyone that plays 14, it has nothing but good things to say about him, the team, and the story for the game. So I'm very very hopeful that 16 is going to be a great game.
Yeah, I looked into it. Like, I was like, oh, maybe I'll play 14 because, like, everyone keeps saying it's the best Final Fantasy game you've never played, and I'm like, well, I like Final Fantasy games. And
Yeah,
then I
and it's
go,
free up to level 60, and you even
yeah,
get to play the first expansion for free.
oh, really? I've never heard that before.
I know, right?
Um, and then I look at how much time investment it is, and I'm like, oh no, I'm okay, thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
I missed the boat
It's
on that, and I'm just gonna have to live with it.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking forward to 16 because it kind of feels like we'll get a similar experience but single player.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like it's gonna be the game that we can play like in like
yeah,
less than 400 hours or whatever.
yeah, exactly. And for people like me that aren't a huge fan of the battle system, there's still gonna be 7 part 2,
This is
7
true.
remake part
This
2.
is true.
So
I,
I'm okay with not getting what I want because I still get what I want
I've
and I get.
I've got my game. I'm in the same boat. It's like whatever 16 comes out as, I'm gonna have whatever the next part of Final Fantasy 7 is called. Because I don't think it's gonna be called remake. But we've talked
I don't
about
think it's
that.
gonna be remake part 2.
Yeah.
No, I mean it could be, and I'd be very okay with it. But
We
Final Fantasy 7 remake part 2, it's a bit of a Kingdom Hearts kind of
we talked
length title.
about that on another video, and you can go and check that out. It's a cool video where we
Mhm,
spoil
we
the shit
theorized
out of
about a
Final
lot of
Fantasy. We
stuff.
did.
It was good. There was a lot of theories pushed that day.
Two Final Fantasy 7 nerds there now about Final Fantasy 7 for like 2 hours.
What could happen?
Wow,
It
anything
was
could
it
happen.
was great. And apparently we're meant to be seeing Final Fantasy 7 remake part 2 this month at some point.
That makes
So
sense.
it wouldn't surprise me if it's on the Xbox showcase and they announced that part 1's getting released. Maybe
Wow.
even on Game Pass like Kingdom Hearts 3 was.
So we'll get into
So
some I got some spicy speculation. Everybody who's listened to any of these podcasts where we do like speculations about E3 knows I'm gonna come in with some spicy speculation.
ooh,
I always do.
okay. I have 2 spicy pieces of speculation about Xbox in particular, so I'm looking for.
I just go crazy. Like
I
that's
can't wait.
it's ridiculous. But for now, yes, Final Fantasy 16. I mean, because like you say, like I want to play a Final Fantasy. I know it sounds weird, but like I don't want any cars.
No, I don't want it to be a boy band
I don't want
stuck
any
in an
cities. Like, I
RPG.
liked Final Fantasy 15, but like, I don't want another one of those.
Yeah, I got to the point where I was allowed to go fishing, and by that point I was bored.
I did the fishing as much as possible, and then I left, and I never came back.
Yeah, basically. I was like, look, the fishing mini game is not checking out. I'm off back to Stardew Valley.
Brilliant. I'm super excited. Like summer 2023. Like I've been saying this all year, all this year to anyone who will listen. It's like that game is not coming out this year.
No, I don't know why people thought it was gonna. I know that Yoshi P mentioned that the game was very close to finished
Yeah,
a short while ago, but
but it's
games like that on
also
that scale take time.
yeah, it's like it's nearly close to finish, but also it's a giant JRPG. It's
Exactly,
relative.
like it's like you can get 80% finished with the game's development, but that last 20% will take longer than the 80% before it in a lot of
Yeah,
cases. So
it's like they
and
delayed.
more polished, good.
Yeah, they delayed the trailers for that game into like I guess June 2022, right? And it's just like if they're delaying the next reveal of the game, they're not going to bring the game out this that quickly.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
and that
fine. Take your time. I'm not bothered, but
yeah, I think whenever it does come out, it's going to be worth the time that people have waited for it. You
definitely.
know, it does look incredible. The story's looking fascinating, and the world. I don't know if you've seen the screenshots. The
I
world
have.
is absolutely gorgeous, stunning world.
Oh,
I can't
I'm
wait to get lost in it.
well up for it.
And you know what it looks like? It looks like the way that Final Fantasy 1 to 6 would look if they were made today, if
Imagine
that
if it.
makes sense.
Imagine if this was just like Square Enix is trying to remake all of the Final Fantasies, and they just decided they were just going to remake 1 to 6 in one game.
Oh, I would love that. No, but honestly, it does, doesn't it, with the whole dragoon looking stuff with
No,
the
definitely,
medieval
yeah.
themes, the fantasy. It's a lot like what Final Fantasy 1 was trying to
They're
do so
they're
many
really
years
doing
ago.
a lot with Final Fantasy 1 at the moment. Like between like
Let's
what
not
this
talk
game
about
looks like, and then obviously there was Stranger of Paradise, which I skipped, and I don't regret that decision in the slightest.
it's cheesy. My friend played through it, and I saw the trailers and I was laughing at them because it's. I get the feeling it'd be fun if you had a bunch of friends over to laugh at the game
I
because
played the
it looks
demo
the
and it
story is
was
so bad.
I played the
Uh,
demo and then I streamed it. I remember, and I watched people talking about it. Like a lot of people like were talking about like the demo and stuff, saying, "Oh, it's not quite there, but it's got a lot of promise." And I was just sitting there going, like, "Okay, I respect that everybody has their own opinion, but like, did we play the same demo? Because it was really bad."
yeah, yeah. Honestly, I think the best thing they could do regarding any kind of origin for Final Fantasy is release 1 to 6 pixel remasters for consoles.
Imagine if they did
Um,
that.
yeah, it was so silly that that's a PC only thing. But
Imagine
um,
trapping like any Final Fantasy game on just PC.
I know which has like emulation central, like all 6 versions of Final
Well,
Fantasy
guess
1 or
what?
whatever.
I can play all of the Final Fantasies on PC already.
And they're generally better versions too. The PSP version of Final Fantasy 1 is the best one.
Of course, we don't emulate games, of course.
No, I have the originals. I actually do. But it's crazy because I was hearing about how there's meant to be a Final Fantasy 9 remake
Yeah, that
in
was
the works.
part of there was a GeForce Now leak, and everyone kind of
Mm-hmm.
wrote the GeForce Now leak off, but like everything, like there's a lot of things coming true from that leak, and part of that leak
Yeah.
was Final Fantasy 9 remake. So now it's like, oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
is there actually gonna be a Final Fantasy 9 remake?
Which would be a dream come true for me. But also, they were meant to be showing off the Final Fantasy 9 animated series soon, like a trailer for it, a reveal.
Yep, yep.
And that's meant to be happening very soon. So it would make sense to have a 9 animated series and then the remake as well.
All right, right. Gonna call time
But
on
let's
that.
move on.
We're gonna move
Mm-hmm.
on. It's halfway through the podcast ish.
Hey, well, that's fine because
It's fine. We're gonna do indie game of the week. It's half time. Moody calls it half time. When he can be bothered to show up when he's not working at his big fancy job at PlayStation. I was nice to him the first week he was off.
mm-hmm.
I get to take the piss out of him for the rest of it. That's how it works. And I know he listens to these. It's great. Indie game of the week. This is a thing we do on the podcast every week where we find cool indie games that are coming out at some point in the future, and then I talk about them because they're cool and I like indie games, and I'm trying to
Mhm.
like do a thing here. Or it's like I'm trying to get people to pay more attention to indie games. This week's indie game of the week is Mind Over Magic, and according to the store description, Mind Over Magic is a simulation game developed by Sparky Pants and published by Claire Publishing. Design, build, and manage your magic skill to explore what lies below. Study lost arcana, grow exotic plants, brew potions, and raise undead servants. Only you can prepare your fragile students to harness their mind over magic. And then according to the bullet points, the first one is pretty much what I just read, so I'll go to the second one. Manage daily life while teaching and protecting volatile new wizards. Study lost arcana, grow exotic plants, brew potions, and raise undead servants, which is literally word for word from the description before. Send your graduates to battle deadly creatures and find mystical artifacts in the dungeon below. Coming TBA to PC via Steam.
Wow, that sounds pretty fun.
Does sound pretty fun. It is ironic that the one podcast which is 100% populated by trans people in 2022, and the game I found was a game about a magical school.
Oops.
Oops.
We'll check who wrote it later.
Look, right, it's not the other game, so everybody, it's fine. We don't talk about the other game.
No.
It looks pretty cool though. Like, there's a few like games coming out which are like magic school based games.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Because there's like a game called Witchbrook, I think it is, from the Chucklefish.
Yeah, I think that just came out.
And that's
no,
it's just been announced.
There's a game that came out with a witch. There's a lot of witches in games lately.
Little Witch something Woods. I don't know. There's a witch game that just came out in Game Pass.
Yeah, it looks nice. It looks pleasant.
Little Witch in the Woods.
Yeah, it's trying to be Ghibli-esque, if I remember correctly.
It is trying to be Ghibli-esque. But yeah, the Mind Over Magic. There's a link for it in the description of the YouTube video or the podcast. Go check it out. Go wishlist it. Go support. Cool indie games, cool indie developers.
We love that.
We love that. We love indie games here. There was a Pokemon trailer. Do you want to talk about the Pokemon trailer?
I would love to briefly talk about the Pokemon trailer.
I will just give you the floor to talk about the Pokemon trailer.
Okay, so it seems like they've blended traditional Pokemon with Arceus Legends, which looks fantastic. The starter Pokemon are dead cute. They're super, super cute. And Lechonk, everyone's talking about Lechonk.
I've seen, yeah.
He's such a cutie. But yeah, it looks fantastic. You can play with 3 other friends while you're out in the open world environments. That's really cool.
Moody's going to try and make me play Pokemon now just because, we can play it together.
You should. It genuinely looks like a nice step up. Some of the music's composed by Toby Fox, including the overworld music for the open world segment. So that's really neat.
That is really neat.
Yeah, it's out November 18th. It looks very, very fun.
I like Pokemon, like the Pokemon, the monsters. I have Pokemon all over my room. And the games always come out and then I'm always doing something else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I didn't have a Nintendo handheld, like, ever. Like, I missed, obviously, most of Pokemon's history.
Yeah, no, that's...
But then, like, you got, like, Sword and Shield and Legends Arceus have both come out, and I have a Switch. But, like, I played, like, 10 hours of Sword, and then, like, there was something else going on at the time, and then, like, Legends Arceus came out, but then it's, like, something else happened. I don't remember what it was. And I was in Moody streamed that game on our channel for 10 hours, and I was in that stream for like most of it. I was in Discord, like chatting to him for most of it, like watching it. So I feel like I got the first 10 hours of that game, like.
And it's a very passive game too.
Yeah, it was really fun to experience it like that. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say the same thing I say with every Pokemon. I'll give it a try, and maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see what else comes out in November. Like.
Yeah. Towards the end of the year, it usually gets pretty busy.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. Like, I love the creatures and stuff, though. Like, I love the designs. Like,
yeah,
there's a Sylveon clipped to my microphone.
I love that.
Like, yeah.
It looks really good. It genuinely looks like a step up for Pokemon.
I love
So
that because, like, a lot of people say, because Sword was my first one, so I was like, this is pretty fun. But I remember seeing, like, a lot of people who were, like, Pokemon, like, masters,
yeah.
be sort of talking about how it hasn't really, like, the formula hadn't really changed or whatever.
Yeah, it hasn't really changed since Red and Blue, really. Like if you break down the fundamentals of Sword and Shield, it's basically the fundamentals of Red and Blue. So, but I think the main thing as well is we already got Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. So
We did.
having a game that's played so traditional after a game that was quite traditional with just a little bit of Pokemon burnout. But
Well, potentially, I suppose that makes sense. Like, it never
yeah,
really dawned on me, like, how much Pokemon, like, gets released,
oh yeah,
until,
it's like
like, recently.
annual. I mean, the Switch has like several from Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Tournament, Sword and Shield, and now this game too. I may have missed one or two, I don't know, but they're very frequent, yeah.
Yeah.
But this one looks really good, and that trailer was great, and everyone
Which
should watch it.
which one's the one with the lady Pokemon trainer? Scarlet or
Oh,
Violet?
it's Scarlet with the cute prehistoric lady trainer.
That's the one I'm getting.
That's the one I'm getting to for sure. Yeah,
I
no
make
reason.
I make my decisions very arbitrarily, over which one I'm getting.
Who's the cutest?
Who's the cutest? Who's the cutest? In this case, it's a bit weird to say it like that because I'm talking about the trainers, not the
Oh
Pokemon.
no, I was thinking about the professor.
Yeah, I mean, I've
Yeah,
been thinking about the professor a bit since the trailer.
fair enough. Very cute
Ah,
designs. Though.
yes, very
Oh,
cute.
we've got the upcoming showcases.
Yeah, so we're into the speculation part of the podcast, and where we're gonna throw out, I guess, probably not too random. For me, it's probably gonna be pretty random because for the first time ever, I haven't made any like notes or like written anything down. Like I'm literally just gonna go with my gut. That might be a terrible idea, but I've got all the shows that we know about so far written down, so I'll go through them really quickly. We've got
Yes.
this. We've got Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest on Thursday at 6 p.m. We've got already is going to be the best show of the summer Devolver Digital Showcase on
Oh
Thursday at
my
11
god,
p.m.
fever dream.
Yeah, I
Every
love them.
time. They're so wild.
They're so good.
Uh, isn't there like Mecha Suda in this one? Like Suda 51s?
Mecha Suda 51 was in the trailer. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
on Friday at 8 p.m., you've got the Tribeca Games Spotlight. You already know what games are going to be there for that. They make selections. It's
Yeah.
yeah, the games are in front of me. It's a Plague Tale Requiem, American Arcadia, As Dusk Falls, Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course, Immortality, Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals, The Cub, Thirsty Suitors, and Fenba. I'll talk more about that in a bit because I really liked last year's. Um,
Mm-hmm.
on Saturday, you got three shows. There's at 4 p.m. the Gorilla Collective, at 5 p.m. the Wholesome Direct, which is my second favorite show of the year already, and then
Mm-hmm.
the Future Games Showcase is at 8 p.m. And then you got the big day on Sunday at 6 p.m. It's the Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase, and then at 8:30 p.m. it's the PC Gaming Show. Nintendo haven't confirmed anything yet, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to start? Like, what do you want to do? How do you want to do this?
Let's start at the top. Let's just go through them. Because
Sweet.
some of these won't have too much to say, really. Like the Summer Game Fest, we don't really know what's going to happen, but it's probably going to be
I
like the Game
think,
Awards.
and this is nothing against Jeff Keighley at all, um, or like anyone like working on the Summer Game Fest. I think the Summer Game Fest is going to be a bit of a damp squib.
You think so?
I think so. I don't. I think last year's Summer Game Fest wasn't that great, apart from the fact that it had the first Elden Ring trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
this year's Summer Game Fest doesn't have an Elden Ring trailer.
True. So what does it have instead is the question.
A Death
Like I get the
Stranding 2
feeling there's
trailer.
probably, yeah, there could be a few good things actually announced, but
Like, I think
it's a
it'll be
difficult one
fine.
to judge. It'll be
Um,
good. It won't be great, I
it
don't
won't be.
think.
It won't be like. It's not going to blow anyone's minds. Like, I don't think.
No.
But it's like, I don't know. Like, I've got ideas of what we might see. I just don't know. Like, I'm not putting it into categories of what we might see this year and we might see this year. Like, it's just my gut feeling is Summer Game Fest is going to be good, but not amazing. And for me, that's
Yeah,
alright.
it's
It's
gonna
fine.
be shadowed. As long as we don't see the Gillette man again.
Oh, the Chic Hydro vote. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know anyone else did.
It's just us two. It's only us two.
It's only us.
Uh,
Yeah.
the Devolver Digital is going to be wild. I don't even know what to expect from those guys.
I
Like,
mean,
I don't think do the announcements even matter really in the grand scheme
no.
of it. They will announce amazing games, but it's hard to remember them when it's sandwiched by an acid trip.
It's about the meta narrative, and you can't convince me otherwise. Like, it always has been.
Yeah.
Like, ever since the very first one. And I remember that very first one. And I remember it at the time coming on this podcast, and we used to do like awards where we each vote for like what our favorite X, Y, and Z was. And it got to like, oh, what was the best conference? And I just went in and I went, it was Devolver Digital. And everyone was like, what? That wasn't even a real press conference. I was like, no, it was better.
It was so much more.
It
But
understood
it also made me
E3.
feel ill. Yeah. Also, I want to mention before we move on to the others as well, there's also the limited run games.
Is there?
Yeah, they're doing a show Monday, which is tomorrow. I
Tomorrow.
don't know when this I don't know when this goes, but it's Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is 9 p.m. our time.
It'll be around about when we're talking about it, like right now.
Yeah.
Weird.
So.
That's pretty trippy, actually, now that I think about it. Like,
but they're always a good show, you know. They don't usually announce new games, but it's always fun to see what's going to be preserved physically. So
I mean, yeah, I'm big for game preservation.
Yeah, me too. So that's gonna be good. It's gonna be worth watching, I think.
Keep my eye.
I don't know much about this Tribeca.
So this is last year they did this. This was did their like their first one. And like the Tribeca Game Spotlight, it's like focused on it. They do it like a film festival, sort of, where they make selections of, in this case, games, and like they're based on like the narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like they're like narrative driven games for the like that they select. And last year's selections were like the ones that have come out since then. Like they're have been incredible. Like and like when you looked at them and stuff, like I watched their spotlight last year and like I was blown away by the games. Like the games that they picked for last year, there was Sable, Lost in Random, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Norco, which is amazing. Harold Halibut, The Big Con, 12 Minutes, and Signalis. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Right. This is some really good games, and I heard a lot of amazing things about A Plague Tale. Stunning game, like the way they simulated the rats and stuff. I know it sounds weird, but
No,
like the simulation of the way they just poured in through the streets, absolutely mind blowing to look at. And the new game looks like almost like a film, like visually, it's absolutely stunning. And like you said, very narrative heavy games like Cuphead.
yeah, like Cuphead.
You know, we love the meta narrative on Cuphead.
Hey, man, like the songs tell a story in that game.
The story of pure rage.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like I recognize some of the games on the list this year. Plague Tale Requiem. I mean, like Plague Tale Innocence was just it was jank. Like as a game, it was like indie jank, but like as like an experience, like with the rats and the horror of it all, it was great. And with the narrative was really really good as well. So like. It's one of those games where it's like I feel like the first one was great, so the second one can be incredible.
Yeah, hopefully they can learn from the mistakes from before. But I always find that charm outweighs jank. You know what I
God,
mean?
yes.
Like if a game's charming, I can overlook any amount of jank. Like
yeah, like if a game's
a good
charming, or
example.
if a game's emotional, or if it's powerful, or like all these other things, it's like I can definitely like overlook some jank for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look at Undertale; it's a massive sensation. Yeah, even the character sprite has one leg bigger than the other.
Oh
you know?
God, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I played
games like
PUBG for like a year. Like I can overlook all the jank in the world from having fun, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like small indie games like Off and Lisa, they're really strange games, but
Yeah, I haven't
like
played
a
Lisa
good
yet.
strong narrative is all and charm is always gonna outweigh jank. And I think Plague Tale sounds like a good example of that. Which means
Yeah,
the sequel's only gonna be better.
definitely. Like sequels, like
Um
especially like the second one, like in like the sequel to the original. Like generally speaking, they usually surpass the original a lot of times.
mhm.
In games, not necessarily in other mediums, but
Yeah, for sure. But like, Oxenfree too. Oxenfree was amazing and
Oxenfree was amazing.
everyone knows Cuphead and
Yeah,
yeah, that's gonna be great. I think that'll be well worth a watch
it's
too.
definitely going to be well worth a watch. Like, there's a couple other games on here that I've heard of. Thirsty Suitors. What was the tagline? It was at the Game Awards last December, and the tagline was made me like instantly fall in love with the game. I'm gonna see if I can just quickly find it on, like, see if it mentions it on Steam, but I don't think it
Yeah, no,
does because it was on the trailer.
yeah.
Um, no, it's not. They haven't
Never
put it in. They
mind.
haven't put it in the description. But it's
That's
a what is it? It's a story-driven adventure that unfolds through turn-based battles, skateboarding, and cooking.
ooh, that sounds fun and
It is
quirky
fun.
too.
It is fun and quirky. Yeah, Venba is the one I've heard. That was at last year's Guerrilla Collective something. I don't know. Was it one of them? And
Yeah.
that's like an Indian family, and they're like connecting through cooking again. Immortality is the next game from Sam Barlow. He did
Okay.
Telling Lies and Her Story.
Oh right, cool.
And As Dusk Falls is really interesting. Like, it's like a choose your own adventure like type thing. Um,
Right.
yeah, I just found out it's being published by Xbox Publishing Studio as well.
Ooh, I wonder if that'll be on Game Pass or not then.
That's probably going to be on Game Pass. It looks really cool. I've
Yeah.
seen it somewhere before because I've seen some of the screenshots, and I've definitely seen this game somewhere before. But I'd heard of it, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So what's going to be in the Guerrilla Collective then?
Indie games.
Oh, just pure indie games. That's great.
The Guerrilla Collective is usually just mostly indie games. Like, I think it was a Guerrilla Collective that announced Persona 4 Golden for
Oh,
Steam.
that's wild.
But
Right.
like most of the time, the Guerrilla Collective like focuses on like indie games.
That's really cool. And then we've got the Wholesome Direct
I
after that
love the
as well.
Wholesome Direct.
And they were always great. I believe was Chicory in there or something last
Chicory was in
time.
there, yeah. I bought the T-shirt last year. They did a T-shirt
Wow.
for like the Wholesome Direct, and I bought it, and I will be wearing it on the streams that we're gonna do on Saturday.
Hey, that's awesome.
But
Uh,
it's my most anticipated showcase
yeah,
besides
I told.
Devolver, because as much as I love like the big violent games and stuff, like the wholesome games, just I don't know, I really like them.
Yeah, they're always very charming and well curated as well.
Exactly, like that's where you saw like Garden Story, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
Chicory, which was one of my favorite games of last year.
I actually backed that on Kickstarter and got. I only recently got the key for it for the Switch version. Obviously,
Nice.
getting keys for the Nintendo was pretty difficult for them, so it took them a while, which is understandable. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like yeah,
a
definitely. I'm just
wonderful game, and the music was written by Lena Raine as well, who
Lena
did
Raine.
Celeste
Yeah,
soundtrack.
I
Mhm.
still listen to. So I've got that, and I've also got Moonglow Bay. Is another one like the
Rings a bell.
soundtracks,
Yeah,
which is another Lena Raine one. I've got those on like a video game playlist of music that I
that's
listen to.
brilliant.
Oh yeah, like I'm just looking at what was in the Wholesome Direct. Like you had like Letters, which is a game I played earlier this year,
Mhm.
which made me want to make a game.
Yeah, I love that though. I think more people should make tiny little fun games.
Well, yeah, I can't really do much, but like I can write. But yeah, I remember
Yeah.
I was sat there going, should I make a game? And I was talking in my chat, and Ryan was in my chat, and then the fucking developer, one of the developers, was in my chat, like being like, yeah, you should. And I was like, holy shit, this is so surreal.
You would hire me.
I can
Kind
write,
of.
please hire me. Get me
Yeah.
out of
So
here.
Oh gosh, what about the future game showcase? Is
So
that
the
going to be more PC orientated?
so the future games showcase is like a games radar type thing. It's being hosted by this year time. It's being hosted by the voices of Geralt and Yennefer from the Witcher 3. Because they
Oh,
always have like that there was a
video.
one last year that was hosted by the people who played Vampire Mommy and Metal Gear guy from Resident Evil Village.
Oh, so they kind of get like video game celebs in a way, like
Yeah,
people. Yeah, that's awesome.
and it's
That's a
usually
really
like
cool.
you'd sort of double A sort of type games.
Oh, that'll be good. There's not enough AA games. Like,
Not the
I always
biggest
wish that.
games, but not like the smallest indie games either.
Yeah, they're often like you can tell there's a lot. They make up for the budget with passion. A lot of the times.
There was the Future
Um.
Games show earlier this year.
Oh, really?
In spring, yeah. I'm just looking it up now.
That's awesome. But after that,
I mean, then yeah, we get
we get to the big one.
the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, which is the big one.
Yeah, it's wild because some stuff's been teased, some stuff's been leaked. So I have a couple spicy takes on that if you're interested.
Interesting. I'm down for spicy
Yeah.
takes.
So
Spice it up.
it might be spoilery though, because one of them I
Who
almost
cares?
know for a fact is getting announced. But GoldenEye's making a return.
Oh yeah, the developers have been unlocking achievements.
Yeah, so that's the thing. But also, Phil Spencer's been playing a suspicious amount of Banjo Kazooie lately, and which is exciting as hell because he usually teases stuff in that way. But he's been playing a suspicious amount of Banjo Kazooie online, and not just that, but one of the lead developers, one of the creators of Banjo Kazooie, also said that he's finally been able to work recently over the past couple of years on a project that he's had the idea for over 10 years.
Nice.
So even if it's not Banjo Kazooie, which I would love
Could be like
another Banjo.
yeah, it could be Banjo Kazooie specifically, or maybe like a spiritual successor to like Banjo
Well,
Kazooie.
he still works at Rare, so I think if it is going to be a game like Banjo, it just will be a new Banjo. But
Why
if not, at least we get to see another game by the guy who made Banjo Kazooie and Viva Pinata.
Exactly, yeah.
So that it's a win-win. But
Win-win.
Yeah, and also the guys who made Super Lucky's Tale haven't made a game in a while. Very underrated, but they haven't made a game in a while, and they're owned by Microsoft, if I remember correctly. Which means that if someone was to do a Crash trilogy, Spyro trilogy kind of remake for Banjo Kazooie and Tooie,
Yeah, that's true.
they'd be good for it. They'd be really good for it.
Well,
So.
I read a rumor going around that there was that the Toys for Bob are making a new Crash. Like
Yeah,
a new Crash. Yeah.
Yeah, more of a brawler apparently.
Yeah.
Which sounds fun, and they're owned by Microsoft now too, so it's relevant to the showcase.
It is.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if we what was it now? The new Rare game that got announced a couple of years ago. Everwild, that's right. They had some trouble with that and some
They did.
shifting at the top of the hierarchy regarding development of that game, but hopefully that comes together. I don't want another repeat of Sea of Thieves where it took a while to get in its stride.
Yeah. Yeah, the same with the Initiative as well. With Perfect Dark, and actually it's the same with Undead Labs and State of Decay 3. So they got like a few games that they've announced or that we know about that are also like in kind of a bit of a limbo at the moment. So like I don't see like any of those games that we've just mentioned like popping their heads up.
Yeah, well, I feel like because apparently the Coalition who made the Gears of War games are co-developing the new Perfect Dark game along with the Initiative. So
and Crystal Dynamics.
Pardon?
Crystal Dynamics are co-developing it as well.
Yeah, so there's definitely like a lot of talent there involved, and I think we could see that at E3. I think they could have a little bit of a Rare section where they show off, some stuff that they've been working on.
Sure.
Although if I could choose a studio to work on a new 3D platformer like Banjo, it'd probably be Double Fine.
Double Fine. God, I'm looking at the logos and I'm just like, I forgot They had so much going on. So the first studio that
They
comes
own
up,
everyone.
the first studio, because I need to ask you this question, because I was playing
Of
a little
course.
game a couple of times in the past week. I don't think anyone's heard of it. It's called Halo Infinite, and I saw you playing that at the same time. So,
Which game? Sorry.
Halo Infinite.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
Halo
liked you.
Infinite's
I
been
like your
really.
cat ears. Um,
Thank you.
and I wanted to ask you: do you think they're going to talk about whatever's next for Halo Infinite's single player journey?
No, I don't think they are this year. I think it'll probably be next year when they have something to show off for it. Mainly because they have so much catching up to do with Forge and other
I know,
features that just
yeah.
aren't on the game yet. I think that they'll take precedence over the single player. But I do know that there's probably going to be some storyline related to this new brute AI that got shown off in season 2
Oh, okay,
of
yeah.
the multiplayer.
I
So
haven't done like I played on Wednesday night and I played last week sometime. I haven't really been in Halo Infinite that much, so that's interesting.
yeah, I think the future's quite bright for Halo. The campaign was brilliant. I thought felt all like
Oh, I
what
loved it, yeah.
Halo One Silent Cartographer
With the
wishes it
grappling
could be in a
hooks.
lot of ways. And the grappling hook is so satisfying to use too.
I believe
But the story was also good.
the story was really satisfying. Like the story was the one part where I was like, how are they gonna like make this accessible for like new players? Because it's been so long now that like they're obviously doing that thing where they're targeting like new Halo players, and also
Yeah,
like make it satisfying for people who have been like left on a cliffhanger for like the last 6 years.
yeah. It was almost like they undid 4 and 5
Which
and
is
just be almost carried on from 3 in a way.
yeah, they did, but they did it in a really thoughtful way. Like the way they carried on the
Mhm.
game, and like they didn't like completely like erase like what happened in 4 and 5. Like they still like
Mhm.
obviously took the events and some of the character developments and stuff that happened in those games, but didn't really lean too heavily on it and didn't make it like too lore heavy. Um,
Yeah, they
which I really
contextualized those games well, didn't
yeah,
they?
like they recontextualized a lot of the stuff that happened in
Mhm.
those games, and you got a really cool emotional journey out of it between the three main
Yeah, and a
characters.
brilliant new villain. Like the new brutes and stuff from Halo Wars 2, they're the main antagonists of
Yeah,
Infinite and it was handled so well. Like they're brilliant. They're
definitely.
really, really good. And the new AI weapon, she was
She was
brilliant.
the
I
she was
loved her.
the standout, yeah, for me.
Yeah, so whatever they do next, I'm absolutely on board with it. Absolutely.
Like the character arc for the new AI was just fucking brilliant.
You can tell that they got the writer from Halo 1, 2, 3, and Reach to make the story and help direct the new game, which really, really shows.
It
So
does.
yeah, it's brilliant.
It does. Like I've always described the Halos 1 to 3 as like blockbuster action popcorn, like in terms of like just the story. Where it's like
hmm
it's good for what it's trying to do, whereas like Halo Infinite is like a blockbuster now, like where it's like
Yeah,
it's still that thing of like, oh, it's still big and bombastic, and you get the chief doing all his one-liners, and it's badass, but also like
yeah,
you have to have it grounded in like meaningful like character beats.
yeah. And they made Master Chief feel like Master Chief again, which was amazing. I mean, to be fair, as soon as we saw that his armor went back to the Halo 3 style, I knew that they knew what they were doing.
I liked
But
4, like I liked 4's story, but 5,
mhm.
Jesus.
It was rough. And the problem with 4 and 5 is they thought that Halo fans read all the graphic novels, read all the books,
5 was
watched
really
all the extra
egregious for that.
content.
Yeah.
hmm
Like
You
when
didn't
it
get the story at all
no,
if you
like when it
didn't see the.
starts, Halo 5 starts and it's like Master Chief's just got some other Spartans with him, like, and he's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, who are these people?
Yeah, yeah, and the way they tried to like market the game by lying to people,
I
like all
know.
the marketing was just straight up lies.
But the marketing, like, oh, that would have been a cool game.
It really would. The marketing sounded like it was leading up to an amazing story,
It would have been a
but
cool game.
you know, I think the future of Halo's bright. And
Yes.
speaking about the showcase and stuff, to like
Sure,
pull
sure.
back a
Yeah.
little, I think we could see something of a Gears of War Master Collection. like a Master
Yeah,
Phoenix, like a Phoenix collection or something. But
a Master Phoenix collection. Like,
oh yeah,
I think they got to lay the groundwork for what's next, right? Like, there's going to be a big gap between Gears 5 and Gears 6, and there is going to be one because I remember the ending of Gears 5. Um, but like, it's going to be a big gap. So what do? You bring the older games to the new
yeah.
platform.
I think they'll remake one in the way that they remade Halo 2 Anniversary, which was an incredible remake, probably one of the best remakes ever. And I think because it's going to take, they're going to have to reinvent Gears of War somewhat. And I think to give them the breathing space to do that, they're going to need to bring like a collection out, or at least a remake of Gears 1. So that'll probably, that wouldn't
Yeah,
surprise me if it was announced, but we're probably going to see Fable this year. That was announced 2 E3s ago. Um,
I
you don't
disagree.
think they will?
No, I don't think we're going to
Oh
see it.
wow!
I
Wow,
know I know it was like teased a couple of years ago, and it's been like before that. It was like it was the thing that I think everybody knew. I feel like
mm-hmm.
everybody knew for a fact that it existed, and we were just waiting for them to
Yeah,
say
well,
it.
they were hiring worldwide talent all across the world to work in a studio in Britain. So to me, that screamed of either another Rare studio to like kind of bolster that studio, but more likely, I thought it was basically creating a new Lionhead.
Yeah.
And this game's been in development for like 3.5 years minimum.
Oh, it's
So
been in
to
development
me,
for a long time. Like I used to talk about it
yeah,
on an old Xbox podcast that I used to. I say it still exists. I'm just not on it anymore. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I feel like that was one of the. I feel like it's one of those games where the development was restarted at some point, and like we just didn't know about it because they weren't talking about the game at that point.
Yeah, they probably saw Breath of the Wild and were like, you know what we should do.
Oh yeah, like everybody.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think they are going to do a bigger, broader Fable game, but I still think it's going to stick to
I want it.
the core tenets of Fable.
I wanted to just have some deeper gameplay and a story that makes sense,
Mhm.
and I feel like
Yeah,
I'll
no,
be
I
in.
agree. I feel like it is a true reboot. I don't think they'll continue
No,
from any kind of story, but it's probably going to feel more like Fable 1 because it clearly looks very heavy fantasy. But I actually watched one of the portfolios of the concept artist that was working there,
sure.
and there was definitely sprinkles of technology among the fantasy elements. So, but
I mean
that's
that
just
makes
concept
sense because you've
art.
got guns, and I don't think they're gonna like veer so far away to like not have
Um,
not have like a core gameplay component of the Fable
I, I
series.
I don't know. It looked like it was more like crossbows and single shot rifles, like based on the concept art that I saw.
Sure.
So I don't think it'll be as like, I think it could be like between Fable 1 and 2 in
So
technology, like setting.
so I follow one of the lead. I actually follow the lead. I've just looked her up. I've been following her for years. I follow the lead writer of Fable on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's done writing for Guild Wars 2, Dishonored, Death of the Outsider, and Control.
Ooh.
Like
Ooh.
specifically, she was one of two people who created the the puppet shows that were in Control.
Right. Huh. That's very promising actually. Like I say, I knew they had loads of like high talent. So the game will be, I think it'll be the kind of game Peter Molyneux always wanted to create.
But
Um
unfortunately,
and
he was Peter Molyneux.
yeah, like the thing is with him, I have a lot of sympathy for him, unlike a lot of people, because you could tell that he just didn't know how to stop a game from bloating in his mind. He was always trying to add and add and add and add. And then because they had to cut features, it meant that there was a lot of half baked stuff in Fable games.
This is true.
Which is a shame. But
Okay.
I think,
Yeah.
it's gonna be good. The new Fable's gonna be great.
This is a personal one for me as somebody who is a fan of the series, but I hope we see either something of the next Wasteland game or like something that studio is developing. I liked
Didn't
Wasteland
Wasteland
3.
3 come out recently?
It was 20, I want to say 2019. No, it was 20.
Oh,
Sorry, it was 2020.
right. Well, we might see a teaser for something like that, or an announcement with a logo. But
For some
I don't
reason, I
know.
had it in my head that it was before the pandemic, but it was not.
Oh, maybe next year.
So maybe. Oh well, never mind. Forget I said that.
There's so many studios though. You could do a full podcast just on each studio and what they could be bringing to the
We
table at
could.
this point.
Um,
So
are we gonna see Hellblade 2 again?
yeah. I think we'll see it with a release date, and I don't think
Is
they'll spend a lot of time on it.
is that release date? Does that release date end with a 2 or a 3?
I think it's very early 2023, like January.
Cool. I agree. We're on the same page.
It's
I'm
looking fantastic though.
so excited. I'm so
It's
excited for that
funny.
game.
I always loved the look of the first game, but never got around to playing it. So I probably will play that towards the end of the year in anticipation of the new one.
Play it with the headphones on.
Yeah, I've heard that like the audio is like part of the
It
experience in a
is.
much
It is.
greater
Yeah.
degree.
It
Yeah,
is.
but God,
So let's have a look. What else have we got? Avowed. Avowed from Obsidian.
oh yeah, that looks beautiful, but I don't think we're going to see it this year.
No, because
I think it might be part of a sizzle reel.
the rumor is that it's supposed to be coming early 2023. That's the rumor, and I take very. I'm just going to throw it out there. I take very little stock in most video game rumors on this podcast. As anyone who's listened to this podcast for a while will know, I take a dim view of a lot of rumors that get thrown around. But that is the rumor.
Yeah.
This is the rumor podcast, so I guess we got to talk about them.
I don't think that's I don't think that's early 2023. I feel like with the delay of a lot of big games from Microsoft,
Sure.
I think to let that have its own breathing room, it's probably better off in the latter half, like August.
I don't think you release Starfield and Avowed anywhere near each other.
No, they need to be like 9 months apart, ideally.
Like, I think the rumor might have been true before Starfield was delayed. Purely because Obsidian turned games around really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, look how quickly they made New Vegas. I mean, it was pushed out the door, but still, it was made in rapid speed compared to Bethesda's games.
Like, there's two studios where if I see like everybody always like we talked about with Final Fantasy 16, right? Everybody always like overestimates how quickly games get made. There's only two studios that I know of that make games quickly enough where I would be convinced that maybe it's a possibility, and that's Obsidian and Respawn.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, Respawn, yeah.
Like, they turn games around faster than I don't understand how they make them that fast sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think if Starfield is going to be early 2023, Avowed will be fall 2023.
Yeah, I think March for Starfield and then like October.
If Starfield slips further, though.
Pardon?
I said if Starfield slips further into 2023.
I think Avowed's still going to be like the holiday game of the year. I don't think they've got much else they could release in that time slot, really.
It's a weird one. I think we're going to have a better picture of what they could release when in the next week.
Yeah, it's almost like
where it's just like,
like
how far along is Fable? Ooh, how close is Perfect Dark? Ooh, what about GoldenEye? What about other things that we don't know about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing that people forget when it comes to how quickly games are pushed out is that Japanese studios tend to be a little slower.
They do.
Like Luigi's Mansion 3 came out, and now we've got Mario Strikers Battle League, out in 6 days. And that was a quick turnaround. But you look at, like American studios, they just typically bring Western studios in general, but Japanese studios take their time.
Sometimes. I feel like RGG are another studio where it's like they turn games around really fast.
Yeah, that's just efficiency, but also the fact Western studios are usually much larger than Japanese studios.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild was developed by 15 people, developed by 5 people, then grew to 15, then 50, and it was only until the last stretch where it became 150 people working on the game. So they're very, they build up as and when, but it seems like Western studios have the full studio hands-on quite early.
Because I want to give us some time to really just throw out some wild speculation. I'm going to condense Bethesda into one thing. So obviously we're going to see Starfield. Are you going to see anything else from Bethesda?
I reckon we could see a new Wolfenstein. I don't think we'll see Doom until
I
next
was
year,
thinking
maybe later.
Wolfenstein. Ah, man,
But
you need to come back on this podcast more because we're like totally in sync. Because I thought
I'd love
Wolfenstein.
to.
That's where I was leading myself with that sentence.
Yeah, I think Wolfenstein 3 will get announced, and you know my a little hot take. I don't think they're making a third Doom game. I think they're gonna make a new Quake.
Interesting. Doom
Mm-hmm.
Eternal was kind of like a full stop, right?
Yeah, it kind of ended. I don't think it ended definitively because
No,
obviously you
they'll
can
do
always make
more. They'll
another
do
game.
more Doom down the line, definitely.
But I think Quake's next. I think that like that world's ready for another iteration that's not based on champions. So
I wonder,
yeah,
I wonder because Wolfenstein 2 was like 2017.
yeah, yeah.
I
That's why I think
wonder.
there might be one.
No, I'm wondering if it's gonna come out this year.
What like make it like a August, September, October, November, maybe
Yeah,
even just
probably like
well,
November, like
yeah,
because like Bethesda do this a lot. Like they did it with like Fallout 4 most famously, where it's like announce it and get it out
yeah,
for
which is
anything that's not
unusual.
one of their RPG. Like yeah, it's like sometimes they take like 10 years to make a game, and sometimes they take 6 months before like they announce it and then release it.
Yeah. I like that though. That's why I love like Nintendo's stuff, which we'll get to in a moment,
We
I'm
will.
sure.
We're gonna that's gonna fall into the wild speculation cap. Because I got a
Yeah,
question. I
but
got a question for you right off the bat as far as Nintendo goes. But yeah, I'm suddenly like thinking like, I wonder if Wolfenstein 3 is going to come out this year.
you know Bethesda's not going to announce
Elder Scrolls.
Wet 2.
No, I can't even pretend to be. I tried.
uh, but yeah, I think we'll probably see a new Wolfenstein. We'll probably see more Fallout 76 content, Elder Scrolls Online, obviously.
Yeah.
I think we'll not see a new Doom this year, but probably
No, I
next
don't
year.
think we'll see anything from id. We'll
No,
probably see more
again,
Redfall.
oh, Redfall.
Yeah, that's the vampire game being made by Arcane
That'll
with
be
one of the
decent.
two. Arcane's one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite studios, so I'm down for anything that they're making. Like
Yeah,
Deathloop
they do.
was awesome.
I wish I could have played it, but it's only on PS5.
Nah, nah, nah,
But
nah, nah.
it'll be on Game Pass. It'll be announced for Game Pass
Yeah,
this
it's
year.
going to
They'll
come
be
out
like,
in Game
hey,
Pass. Yeah, actually, Deathloop's going to come out probably at the end of the year, right? On
yeah, well,
Xbox.
I'm thinking early next year probably because they've got like a certain timed exclusivity for it.
Yeah, because
So I
it
reckon
was
it'll be early next
it was
year.
out like September last year.
Right. Oh, so yeah, it could be announced for like around September, October this year. That would be
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah,
And it'd be
Deathloop.
a big game to have on Game Pass too.
14th of September last year.
Right. Yeah, so it could be out within a few months. That would be amazing for Game Pass.
It would be.
But yeah, I think it's mostly going to be an Xbox presentation though. I think Bethesda's going to get their segment, but you know.
Oh, Bethesda will have a whole thing, but I don't think I don't think we're going to get like loads of stuff from them.
No, I honestly I feel like each E3 they should show off like a little bit of Elder Scrolls, even if it's like, hey, look at these wire mesh models.
They
and
should
stuff.
just
Look what little environments we've been doing.
They should spend the next 5 E3s zooming out on one screenshot.
I would love that. Unironically, this is a rock. Look how next generation it looks. I'll be like, hell yeah.
And then they zoom out and it's a little bit more. And then when you get to the 5th E3 and they zoomed out like all the way, it's like it shows you where it is, like what part of the Elder Scrolls it's set in.
See, I thought you were going to make a joke then and be like, yeah, the first E3 you can see like a rock and a little bit of grass. By the 5th year, you can see the bottom of someone's shoe. 20 E3s later.
Would I joke? Would I joke about something like that? Would I? Yes, the answer is yes.
God.
Anyway, there's a PC gaming show on Sunday at 8:30 p.m. But like, I don't like trying to predict indie games, so I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah. No, one last thing about the Xbox presentation.
Yes,
there is gonna be some really cool Game Pass games announced, and one of them's gonna be out today.
It's
it's
available after the showcase ends.
Yeah, you know for a fact that's gonna be the case.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I don't know why, but I just got a feeling Cuphead was going to be on Game Pass then. But yeah, it's going to be. Is it Cuphead's on Game Pass?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Huh. Well, if so, no, I'm downloading later. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good presentation. It's going to be big, I think, too.
I'm going to be devastated if it's not, because I'm going to get an angry DM off you later. You promised me Cuphead. I'm sorry. Right. Wild. I want to do wild speculation. I've got a question before you talk about Nintendo for like the next 5 to 10 minutes. Where the fuck is Hollow Knight?
Silksong's taking its time. Apparently, the studio was hit badly by COVID, so we'll probably not see that until the end of the year, and I don't think it'll launch this year either. No. I'm sorry. That's just my feeling. I don't see it happening this year, unless Nintendo announce it in their direct
and give
it a release. But I get the feeling it'll be a timed exclusive for Nintendo as well. I don't know why.
I played it on a Switch in 2019, so.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good game.
Silksong or
Silksong, yeah, no, I played Silksong.
Wow, you got to play it.
I did.
No wonder you're so desperate for the new
3 years ago.
I know. It'll be worth the wait, though. You know what that company's like. Like, they don't know how to make a small game.
I know it's worth the wait.
Hollow Knight's 30 hours long. No other Metroidvania.
I don't know how.
I know.
I'm gonna explode.
Please don't. You won't be able to play Silksong.
I've already played it.
Yeah. God. It's gonna be good.
Talk about Nintendo for a few minutes.
Okay. Nintendo Direct. I don't think we'll hear anything from it next week. I don't think we'll hear about it until the Monday after. Okay. And I reckon it'll be like, hey, guess what? In 2 days, Nintendo Direct. It's going to be 4 or 5 minutes, whatever.
Talking about games in the second half of 2022. Or like focusing on games in the...
Yeah. And I think we'll see Breath of the Wild too.
Yeah, that'll be like there. Because they always do it. They go like, oh, we're focusing on games in this time period. But there'll always be one game that's not coming out in that time period.
Yeah. I think we'll get a title reveal. And I think...
Good, because Joe Medforce is constantly... He screams it every time I call it Breath of the Wild 2. It's not called Breath of the Wild 2.
It's called the sequel to the Breath of the Wild. But yeah, I think I have a few theories.
Do it. Theories.
I heard that Retro Studios were testing what they could do with Unreal Engine 4. And so they... were making scenes for Metroid Prime 1, like, the ship from the start of the game and the opening world for Talon 4. And upon seeing it, Nintendo wanted to greenlight a sequel using the other team at Retro Studios, whilst also using that to aid a lot of the staff to work on Metroid Prime 4 afterwards.
Sure.
Because obviously a lot of the team won't be working on Metroid Prime 4 because it's probably only a couple of years past pre-production. So we could get a remake of Metroid Prime 1, and that's why we didn't see the Prime trilogy on the Switch up until now. Okay. But I think we'll see Prime 1 and maybe a teaser for Prime 4. I think we'll see Breath of the Wild 2. Mm-hmm. I think with Breath of the Wild, I think I know what they're doing.
Go on.
When I saw the first trailer had me really hyped. I was really excited by the idea of Ganondorf himself actually being
that was the one with the backwards chanting, and that was super creepy, right?
Yeah, that was the one with the giant murals on the walls telling you the history of what happened to Ganondorf before he was sealed away with that thing on his chest.
I'm going to commit an internet crime right now in front of you and say that, like, I wasn't as into Breath of the Wild as most people. But, like...
That's okay.
I fucking loved that trailer.
That trailer was incredible. It was so dark, like Majora's Mask style of dark, too. Not like Twilight Princess, where everything just looks muddy.
Yeah. Thanks, Nintendo.
But to me, it seems like... I think I know what Breath of the Wild 2 is doing. It's not just... Because they said it's just going to be the map from Breath of the Wild, right? That they're using the map from Breath of the Wild and that the game takes place in the same world. They're not going to do that. They've been developing the game for nearly 6 years, right? It will be 6 years by the time it comes out. Okay. You don't spend 6 years working on a game that's already 80% complete. Do you? It's just not a thing that happens. Majora's Mask was made in 11 months with a much smaller team. So I get the feeling that most of the game's going to take place in ancient Hyrule. I think that there's going to be modern Hyrule and ancient Hyrule. Because Link in half the cutscenes wears this garb. He wears this like garb that looks a lot like Ganondorf's garb, and obviously we know Ganondorf's been sealed away for a long, long time. He's ancient, so Link's clothes must be ancient too. And that makes me think that most of the game's going to take place in ancient Hyrule, and what you do in ancient Hyrule is going to affect modern day Hyrule, which means that the Hyrule you've already explored will change dynamically based on what you do in the past. Because you've also got to think Master Sword's broken and needs rebuilding, and there's no one in modern Hyrule that can do that. So he's going to have to basically find the people that can repair it in the past. So, and also the voice actor for Daruk in Italy accidentally mentioned that he was voicing one of Daruk's ancestors.
Interesting.
So you put all that together, and it makes it sound like ancient Hyrule is going to be a place you visit. It makes sense why the islands are in the sky in modern Hyrule and other aspects too. So yeah, and there's also other parts of Breath of the Wild that seem unusual in the sequel, like the way the chanting's sung backwards, which is a play on time. The way that the status ability of the freezing thing actually reverses the thing in time. Yeah, time seems to be quite important in this game, and I think that's going to play a part in the title. Other than that, I think we'll see a new true Fire Emblem game, the next one.
Thank God. That's the one. Like, so like I've been sort of like racking my brain trying to think, like, apart from what we already know is coming out, according to Nintendo, in like the latter half of 2022, is there going to be anything else that like they could announce where it's like, and it's coming out at the end of the year? And I was like, the only thing I can think of that for me feels realistic is a new Fire Emblem, which again, we're on the same page. I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. It's wild because Three Houses came out a long time ago.
It did,
and I know that they also work on the Paper Mario games, but that's a separate team from what I've seen, or at least a large chunk of the team is different. So I think we'll see the next big Fire Emblem. I also think we'll see more Bayonetta 3.
Yes, that's supposed to be coming out this year as well.
I think we might see Silk Song. I think the new challenge pack for Mario Kart 8.
Yes. What's going to blow us away? Like, what's going to be the surprise that blows us away?
Another Smash Bros. Pass. I'm only kidding.
Imagine.
I think it'll start with Breath of the Wild. I think it'll start straight away Breath of the Wild. No, like, hello, welcome to Direct. I think it'll be boom. They do the little title thing.
Yeah, because they do that sometimes, and then the person comes in and goes, that was a look at such and such.
I think it's going to end with the new Donkey Kong game.
The Mario Odyssey team.
By the Mario Odyssey team, yeah. Yeah, I think we'll also see Mario & Rabbids 2 because Ubisoft are at E3 this year as well, so that'll be another game that gets shown.
No, stop, come back.
To be fair, I'd love them to have done a presentation and announced a new Immortal game. I actually thought that game was pretty good. Okay. But yeah, as for Nintendo, I don't think they'll show off Mario Odyssey 2. I think that'll be like September Direct, December Direct. Sure. But I think Donkey Kong will get announced at the end because Mario & Rabbids is already the 2022 Mario game. We'll probably see more of Pokemon.
Yes, maybe. Yeah.
And there'll probably be another couple surprises that we don't expect. Probably another Wii U port. Maybe like, oh wait. I'm thinking we might get remakes of Oracle of Ages and Seasons in the style of Link's Awakening. Because Grezzo has been silent for a long time. So.
Okay. That's a lot of Nintendo speculation. I love to see it. I love to hear it. You see, you're the Nintendo gal. That's why, I just went. Yeah. I was like, I just say the word Nintendo, and then I just sit down and I'm looking through stuff on my laptop, listening intently.
Just relax.
I'm just like, I can just chill for a couple of minutes now. That all sounds awesome, though.
Yeah, I think that's about it, really.
I love your theory on Breath of the Wild, too. Sorry,
Thank you. I hope it comes true. Because I was really worried that second trailer that it was just going to be
Breath of the Wild
1 with islands and caves. Yeah.
Breath of the Wild 2 in the sky.
Well, I can't imagine many people who played the original will be excited about the idea of like, hey, look, let's go back to Hateno Village. Let's play Spot the Difference. with some islands in the sky and some caves, probably.
We know
There's got
you
to be
all loved
something
Skyward Sword.
It was everyone's favorite, right?
Okay.
Remember when that game was announced? Jesus.
Yeah.
Someone got
Okay.
their camera on.
Let's do a little bit of time. Let's spend a little bit of time. I just want wild, like, untamed speculation. Like,
Oh, the wild stuff.
I want the wild stuff. I think what we'll do is we'll go backwards and we'll go back and forth. Like wild, spicy, hot takes. Like the if you want to go crazy with it, go crazy with it. Like because it's always really satisfying when you throw out something that sounds ridiculous and then it happens. Like that one time I predicted Play Anywhere, or that one time I said Fallout 4 was going to get announced, or that other time I could go on. I'm not going to.
You're cashing all that in now.
I'm cashing it all in. I predict
everyone.
6 months. Before they announced it, I said the Xbox One X was going to be called the Xbox One X, and everybody laughed at me in that podcast, Tori. And I was right.
That was mean of them. That was mean, and they should have apologized and bowed their heads.
Oh, I laughed on a live stream. I threw my headphones on the floor and I laughed because they were in the room.
Yes.
So let's go wild. Let's go wild. I'm gonna go like medium spicy. Like this is more of a hot take. Like than necessarily like I'm going all in right now. We're not gonna see any Silent Hill. Please stop talking about Silent Hill. I'm sick of hearing rumors about Silent Hill.
Fair. You know what? Fair. That's fair. I think that Blue Point are doing a Metal Gear Solid remake. How's that for a spicy take?
Boom. Yes. You get it. You get what we're doing here. I love it. I think I left this purposefully out while we were talking about Xbox. I think that they're going to tease a new, because Obsidian are working on apparently 4 games. And I think they're going to tease the 4th one.
And it's going to be?
And it's going to be New Vegas 2.
I knew you were gonna, they should make a new Fallout. Everyone wants it. Yeah, they should. They should do that.
Because I think Bethesda's making Fallout 76, and that's cool. Let them do that. They've got Starfield, and they've got Elder Scrolls, and Obsidian's right there, and they made the best Fallout. So just let them make the next best Fallout.
Exactly. Yeah. His is the spiciest one. This isn't gonna happen. But I just thought I'd go as wild as I could do.
Sure.
They're going to make new Ice Climbers.
Yes!
And it's going to be a cute adventure game where you can play it with a friend, and it's all about scaling the top of the mountain.
Oh, that's cool. I want that so badly.
Like a 3D platformer with 2 people.
You say that's not going to happen, right? But I once made a joke about, in 2015 when we did this in a podcast, I made a joke about bringing back Battletoads. And
it happened.
They brought back Battletoads, so anything can happen. Yakuza 9, I think we're going to see Yakuza 9.
And it's going to be like a dragon.
Yeah, it's going to be Ichiban, and it's going to be an RPG, and it's going to be all that cool shit, and it's going to be they're going to say it's going to come out in November, and then it's going to get delayed at some point.
How's this? Persona 3 or 4 is going to be announced for the Switch and other consoles.
What a perfect Switch game.
Yeah.
I think in a month beginning with J, there's going to be another State of Play, and it's going to be a huge one. It's going to be the big one. It's going to be the one we're all waiting for. And they're going to delay God of War 2023.
Oh, Jesus.
That's not really wild speculation. I've been saying that all year.
It could happen. It could. Gosh. Let's think. They're going to port Star Fox Zero to the Switch.
No, I hate that game.
But they're going to make it better.
Are they going to make it good? Are they going to make it good?
They'd have to literally remake. They'd be better off just making a new one.
Star Fox 0.1.
I've got another hot one if you want.
Do it.
But I'll let you go first.
No, go for it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okami 2.
Oh
Okami 2 is going to
shit!
be a thing after Bayonetta 3.
Oh my god, Okami too. That was a really good one. I need to say one for Moody because he's not here this week, but I need to throw one out there in the spirit of Moody, and what I know he would say if he was here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do this I'm gonna do one for him and then I'm gonna do one for me. And he would say if he was here, there's gonna be a Dino Crisis remake announced.
Ooh.
I got to throw that out because he does that.
Ooh.
He
After
wants
Resi
that.
4, I can see that happening.
I'm gonna say my next one, which is it's never gonna happen. Moody, get over it.
I reckon it could. I reckon either the Resi 3 remake team could do it, but I'd rather the Resi 4 remake team tackle it. In all honesty,
I think honestly, while he's not here, because I like to tease him about this, I think it is at some point probably likely to happen. Like something Dino Crisis related is gonna happen, but I like to tease him. So
yeah, I mean, Capcom did say they wanted to revisit a lot of their older franchises. Also, what about what are they called now? Begins with E. Embrace.
Embracer, yeah.
Yeah, I reckon that they could announce a new Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
but I think also
they said they're working on it when they bought all those studios. So I think we could see it properly.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my spicy one off of the back of that. I don't think we're gonna see anything of it. I think this is just going to be like an announcement to get people excited for the prospect of this game coming out. But I think Embracer Group are going to say we're going to throw up somewhere and we're working on the next Deus Ex.
Oh, see, I always thought you were going to go somewhere else with that because I think they're going to be like, hey, guess what, guys?
Legacy of
We're
Kain?
remaking Soul Reaver.
Yeah! I whispered it into the microphone because I thought we're on the same page again.
Yeah, I would honestly, the moment they got purchased, like those studios got purchased and I saw Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, I was like, oh my god, yes. Like, that game was 20 years ahead of its time.
Because they specifically mentioned Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and Thief, which are the three IPs like that they got from this big deal that you would expect them to mention, because I think they're the three arguably biggest IPs. But then they also specifically mentioned Legacy of Kain, and I was like, why would you specifically mention that unless you were going to do something about it?
Yeah, well, they for a long time, a studio was working on. Well, I think it was a Square Enix studio, obviously. At the time, was working on Legacy of Kain: Dark Sun, and that was kind of a reboot for the series. And it did look good. It was kind of semi-open world with like the emphasis of like between this realm and this other, the soul realm or whatever it's called, the spirit realm.
Sure.
But I think they just need to go back and remake Soul Reaver. That game was like written by Amy Hennig, who did the Uncharted games.
Sure.
And she's one of the best writers in the industry, and
absolutely
that game, Soul Reaver, was literally like in terms of voice acting, performance, cutscenes, story, everything. It was like something you'd see today, but with graphics that you'd see on the PS1 and Dreamcast. It was
I remember.
Very ambitious.
Yeah,
I think if they remade that game,
the fact that they specifically called out Legacy of Kain, I was just like, okay, I see you.
What are you gonna do though if they like announce a new Legacy of Kain and it's basically like a remake of the original top-down isometric Diablo?
I mean, if they do it this week, I'm gonna be live streaming, so I'll probably die live on Twitch. That'll be a new one, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. There's so much potential. I'm glad that Embracer bought did the acquisition, because although $300 million is not a lot of money, I'm pretty sure the merchandise for Tomb Raider alone, over the next few years, would cover that.
We kind of had this. We did a bit of a dig into like the sales numbers and stuff, and we're just like, why did they let it go for so cheap?
They just wanted to streamline their process, I guess. I think they're trying to double down more on Japanese development and kind of shed that weight.
Yeah, I get why they dropped it. I just feel like PlayStation and Xbox would have definitely put more money up.
Yeah, I think they should have done what Sega did in the 90s and just have a different division handle it, so that Square Enix themselves didn't have to.
Yeah.
But I mean, the acquisition seems like a good one to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing more franchises other than just Tomb Raider and Deus Ex and Thief
I
getting
think
new
I
iterations.
think that's where they'll start, like Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief. I think you got to start there, but I think they'll branch out as well and look into like the other. Like, they've got Gex now. They could do a Gex.
Oh my! They can do anything with Gex.
Okay.
Oh what? No, it could be good.
Let's do. What's the time? Let's do 2 more each. Like the craziest shit you can think of.
Right. Okay.
Do you want me to go first? Because I can do one right now.
You go for one right now, but I know what I'm gonna say next.
I'm gonna say Shenmue 4. And that's it. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Jesus. I mean, the guy said that he wants to make a Shenmue 4, but he can't right now. But he wants it to be good for newcomers as well as veterans. So that could be a thing. But imagine if they did announce it. That would be wild.
Boom.
Okay, my next one.
Go for it.
Star Fox Grand Prix.
Just to really rub it in, like you like F-Zero? Yeah, Star Fox Grand Prix.
Well, the thing is, apparently, Retro were working on this Star Fox Grand Prix for a number of years. So this isn't just out of the blue. They were working on it for a number of years, and somehow development just kind of ceased for something else. I think it's because they took over the Metro Prime 4 development. So I could see them picking that back up at some point, but
sure.
It was meant to be like Diddy Kong Racing, apparently.
So my last one, I've really got to go for it, and I've really got to dig deep and just think like what would really blow the fucking doors off. And like I've got two.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the problem. I'm like trying to figure out like I know which one is crazier.
Do them both. Go for it. Just go for it.
Okay.
We'll be quick.
So the one that's not as crazy would be like, you know how like Monster Hunter Rise was the Switch like equivalent of Monster Hunter World? Well, it's been a while since Monster Hunter World, so I think they're going to be like, here's the Monster Hunter for Xbox Series consoles and PS5.
Wow. I would love that.
And the crazy one is just it's Bloodborne 2. Cause...
I think they could remaster Bloodborne because it's the only game that hasn't. Yeah, like the first game is so good, and it's one of the few games that didn't actually get the remastered frame rate boost, resolution boost treatment out of all the big first party, well, quote unquote, first party PlayStation games.
I mean, Sony owns it. Like, it's not a From Software.
Yeah. Thing. Yeah, so I think that could get the remaster treatment, but I'd love a sequel.
I want more. I want a sequel. And I'm not afraid to say it.
Me too. My next one's my last prediction. Even is it's a wild one, but I really want it. So I'm gonna just summon it into the world. Mario RPG 2.
Oh my god! Yes.
Not a new Paper Mario.
No.
A literal sequel to Mario RPG.
Yes. 2020, like a 2020s version of Mario RPG, like.
Yeah, redone to like toys or something, or like, you know, like make it look handmade, like dioramas. It would be gorgeous. Oh no, wait, I'm gonna say another one just because I can.
Yeah, you can.
Mother 3. Give us a Mother 3 remake. Don't localize it because it's not happening. Just remake it.
Just remake it.
Just remake it. Make it look like it's all made out of plasticine or clay or something. Give it like a little handmade touch. Do that as well. Yeah. It's got to happen one day.
Boom, baby. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
That is good. Okay, we're going to really quickly wrap up the podcast with our usual final segments because there are games out this week. Not many, because that's what happens during E3.
It is E3 season.
But we got 4 games coming out this week. On June 9th, we got Pro Cycling Manager 2022 on PC. It's a cycling management game. I'm not going to read the description. Can't go over. And we've also got Tour de France 2022 coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. It's a bike riding simulator.
Wow, I'm seeing a theme.
Yeah. On June 10th, Mario Strikers Battle League comes to Switch. Aim for victory with teamwork, tackles, table-turning items, and score-boosting hyper strikes in Mario Strikers Battle League Football on Nintendo Switch. Do whatever it takes to win in frantic local multiplayer and team up with other players online to become the world's top club. Also on June 10th, the Quarry comes to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. When the sun goes down on the last night of summer camp, 9 teenage counselors are plunged into an unpredictable night of horror. The only thing worse than the blood-drenched locals and creatures hunting them are the unimaginable choices you must make to help them survive.
Yep, both Mario Strikers and the Quarry sound really good.
I concur.
And I'm sure the guy that plays the cycling sim games is gonna love those too.
Look, like if you like it, it's good. It's just I'm running out. I ran out of time 10 predictions ago. And it's a cycling game. You ride a bike. It's good. So let's quickly finish with OpenCritic head-to-head. This is the game we play here every single week, where we try to guess the OpenCritic average of 1 and sometimes 2 upcoming games. Just making sure nothing I'm about to say has a review, because that's happened before. If you guess closest to the score, you get 1 point, and if you manage to guess the score correctly, you get 2 points. Last week, we tried to guess the OpenCritic average of Card Shark. I guessed it would get an 82. Moody guessed it would get a 65 by getting into the document and putting a number in. I can never get rid of him. And Parrot guessed it would get a 75, and at the time of recording, Card Shark has an OpenCritic average of 80, which means that I get another point, which puts the scores at Amy 11, Moody 8, and our guests so far this year have no points. There's no pressure, Tori, but someone's got to get you all off the board. This week we're going to try and guess the OpenCritic average of 2 games. Mario Strikers Battle League Football and The Quarry. Because we've had a couple of weeks, you see, where we haven't had any games come out like to do this game with, so we bank them and save them for when like we can do like a double header. And this week's a double header. It's the first one of the year.
Ooh, cool beans.
So we'll go one game at a time. Moody has only put 1 score into the document for some reason. I don't know why. I texted him 2 hours ago, and I guess he's asleep or whatever. Mario Strikers Battle League. Tori, what do you think Mario Strikers Battle League is going to get on OpenCritic?
I'm thinking like 89.
Wowzers. 89.
I think it's going to score high, but just be shy of 90.
Boom.
Yeah.
Almost as good as Elden Ring. Well, Moody
I think
has
it's really good pie game. Not a pie game, a Mario sports game. So.
I like a good sports game. Moody hasn't put a score in, so I hope he doesn't put a score in that's going to be anywhere near our scores. I'm basically going to go 79. Like, I think the same as you, but 10 like lower.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I feel like Nintendo sports games don't review as well as like Nintendo games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, me too. But I feel like the Strikers game is going to rate higher than the tennis or golf game, which usually sat around 80.
That's fair.
So.
That's fair. You're the Nintendo expert, so. But we're also doing the Quarry. So Moody's already put a score in of 85. Tori, what do you think the Quarry is going to have on OpenCritic?
So, I didn't play the previous game by that developer, but I remember people enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say like 82.
82. Just undercut Moody. Chop his legs off. Do it. Interesting. Because Until Dawn, which this is a spiritual sequel for, class game, absolutely brilliant. Didn't review that well, like as well as like you might remember. It got a 79 on OpenCritic. So I mean, it reviewed well, obviously, because 79 is a good score. But me playing it and how much I enjoyed it, like I would expect it to be like right up there, but it wasn't.
Right.
But you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Moody said 85, you said 82. I have a 3-point lead over Moody. So whatever like score I was thinking about inputting, it would be much funnier to just put in like just above Moody.
Right.
So like instead of like trying to like get a point for myself, just try to make sure Mary doesn't get a point because I'm just feeling like chaos. I want to choose violence today.
Rightly so.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at.
I
And
like it.
if the Quarry somehow is like one of the best games of 2022, then I'll get a point.
Hell yeah. It's a
If
win-win scenario.
if it somehow gets an 85, I'll never hear the end of it. But these are the risks we take.
They are. They are. That's what makes it fun.
Absolutely. So that's it. That's the podcast. That's gonna do it for episode 307 of the Words About Games podcast. Tori,
It's been really fun.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been really good.
I feel like we practically like have the same brain when it comes to like video game stuff. So it's been really fun to just like nerd out with you for a couple of hours.
Honestly, I've loved it. It's been great. It really has.
That's awesome. Like, I'm glad we got you in for the episode where we didn't do the news because the news is really depressing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Video games, right?
We'll keep it light and bubbly today.
Yeah, we kept it light and bubbly. That's what I like. That's gonna do it. So like, all that's left to do is to say bye.
Yeah. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Definitely.
It's been really nice.
Awesome. Well, so long, internet. I'll see you next week after E3. That isn't E3. Say bye, Tori.
Goodbye, everyone.